Exodus. Chapter 1. These are the names of the sons of Israel with their whole family: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. Joseph was already in Egypt. And all the souls born of Jacob were 75. Thereafter Joseph died, and all his brothers, and all that generation. And the sons of Israel increased and multiplied, and became numerous, and grew exceedingly strong, and they multiplied in the land. And there arose up another king over Egypt, who did not know Joseph. And he said to his nation, Behold, the race of the sons of Israel is a great multitude, and are stronger than we. Come then, let us deal wisely with them. Since perhaps at any time when they are increased, and if war happens to us, then these also will be added to our enemies, and if they prevail against us in war, they are to depart out of the land. And he set over them supervisors, who should afflict them in their work, and they built fortified cities for Pharaoh, both Pithom, and Rameses, and On, which is Heliopolis. The more they humbled them, the more they multiplied, and grew exceedingly strong, and the Egyptians greatly abhorred the sons of Israel. And the Egyptians rigorously burdened the sons of Israel. And they embittered their life by hard labors, in the clay, and in brick making, and all manner of work in the field, all their service, where they ruthlessly caused them to serve. And the king of the Egyptians spoke to the midwives of the Hebrews. The name of the one was Zipporah, and the name of the second, Puah. And he said, When you do the office of midwives to the Hebrew women, and they are about to be delivered, if it is male, kill it, but if it is female, save it. But the midwives feared God, and did not as the king of Egypt appointed them, and they saved the male children alive. And the king of Egypt called the midwives, and said to them, Why is it that you have done this thing, and saved the male children alive? And the midwives said to Pharaoh, The Hebrew women are not as the women of Egypt, for they are delivered before the midwives go into them. So they bore children. And God treated the midwives well, and the people multiplied, and grew very strong. And because the midwives feared God, he established families for them. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, Every male child born to the Hebrews cast into the river, and every female save it alive. Chapter 2. And there was a certain man of the family of Levi, who took a daughter of Levi to be his woman. And she conceived, and bore a male child, and having seen that he was healthy, so they hid him 3 months. And when they could no longer hide him, his mother took a papyrus basket, and sealed it with tar, and put the child in it, and put it in the marsh by the river. And his sister was watching from a distance, to see what would happen to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to the river to bathe, and her maids walked by the riverside, and having seen the ark in the marsh, she sent her maid who took it up. And opening it, she saw the babe weeping in the basket, and the daughter of Pharaoh had compassion on it, and said, This is one of the Hebrews' children. And his sister said to the daughter of Pharaoh, Is it your will that I call to you a nurse of the Hebrews, so that she can suckle the child for you? And the daughter of Pharaoh said, Go. And the young woman went, and called the mother of the child. And the daughter of Pharaoh said to her, Take care of this child, and suckle it for me, and I will pay you the wages. The woman took the child, and suckled it. And when the boy was weaned, she brought him to the daughter of Pharaoh, and he became her son, and she called his name Moses, saying, I took him out of the water. In those days when Moses had grown up, he went to his brothers the sons of Israel, and observed their harsh labor, and he saw an Egyptian beating a certain Hebrew of his brothers the sons of Israel. And looking around this way and that way, he saw no one, so he attacked the Egyptian, and concealed him in the sand. And going out the second day he saw 2 Hebrew men fighting, so he says to the aggressor, Why attack you, neighbor? And he said, Who made you a ruler and a judge over us? Will you slay me as you killed the Egyptian yesterday? Then Moses was afraid, and said, Surely what I have done has become known. And Pharaoh heard this matter, he sought to slay Moses. So Moses departed from the presence of Pharaoh, and dwelt in the land of Midian. After coming to the land of Midian, he dwelt by a certain well. And the priest of Midian had 7 daughters who were feeding the flock of their father Jethro. They came and drew water until they filled their troughs, to water the flock of their father Jethro. But when the shepherds came, they were driving the flocks away, but Moses rose up, and defended them. Then he drew water for them, and watered their sheep. And they came to Reuel their father, and he said to them, Why are you back so quickly today? And they said, An Egyptian delivered us from the shepherds, and drew water for us, and watered our sheep. And he said to his daughters, And where is he, and why did you the man call him therefore, that he may eat bread? And Moses agreed to dwell with the man, and he gave Zipporah his daughter to Moses to wife. And the woman conceived, and bore a son, and Moses called his name Gershom, saying, I am a stranger in a foreign land. After a long period of time, the king of Egypt died, and the sons of Israel groaned because of their grueling labor and cried, and their cry because of their grueling labor went up to God. And God heard their groanings, and God remembered his covenant made with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. And God looked upon the sons of Israel, and he was made known to them. Chapter 3. And Moses was feeding the flock of Jethro his father-in-law the priest of Midian, and led the sheep by the wilderness, and came to the mountain of God, in Horeb. And an angel of Yahweh appeared to him in flaming fire within a bush, and he saw that the bush burns with fire, but the bush was not consumed. And Moses said, I will go near, and see this great sight, why the bush is not consumed. And when Yahweh saw that he drew close to see, Yahweh called to him from out of the bush, saying, Moses, Moses, and he said, I am here. And he said, Do not come near here, loose your sandals from off your feet, for the place whereon you stand is holy ground. And he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And Moses turned his face away, because he was afraid to look at God. And Yahweh said to Moses, I have surely seen the affliction of my people in Egypt, and I have heard their cry caused by their overseers, I know their affliction. And I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them out of that land, and to bring them into a good and wide land, into a land flowing with milk and honey, into the place of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and Amorites, and Perizzites, and Girgashites, and Hivites, and Jebusites. And now, behold, the cry of the sons of Israel is come to me, and I have seen their affliction with which the Egyptians afflict them. And now come, I will send you to Pharaoh king of Egypt, and you are to bring out my people the sons of Israel from the land of Egypt. And Moses said to God, Who am I, that I should go to Pharaoh king of Egypt, and that I should bring out the sons of Israel from the land of Egypt? And God spoke to Moses, saying, I will be with you, and this is to be the sign to you, that I have sent you, when you bring my people out of Egypt, then you are to serve God on this mountain. And Moses said to God, Behold, I will go out to the sons of Israel, and will say to them, The God of our fathers has sent me to you, and they are to ask me, What is his name? What will I say to them? And God spoke to Moses, saying, I am the one being, and he said, This is what you must say to the sons of Israel, the one being has sent me to you. And God said again to Moses, Thus will you say to the sons of Israel, Why God of our fathers, the God of Abraham, and God of Isaac, and God of Jacob, has sent me to you, this is my name forever, and my memorial to generations of generations. Go then and gather the elders of the sons of Israel, and you are to say to them, Why God of our fathers has appeared to me, the God of Abraham, and God of Isaac, and God of Jacob, saying, I have surely looked upon you, and upon all the things which have happened to you in Egypt. And he said, I will bring you up out of the affliction of the Egyptians to the land of the Canaanites and the Hittites, and Amorites and Perizzites, and Girgashites, and Hivites, and Jebusites, to a land flowing with milk and honey. And they are to hearken to your voice, and you and the elders of Israel will go into Pharaoh king of Egypt, and you are to say to him, The God of the Hebrews has called us, we are to go then a journey of 3 days into the wilderness, that we may sacrifice to our God. But I know that Pharaoh king of Egypt will not let you go, not except by a mighty hand, and I will stretch out my hand, and strike the Egyptians with all my wonders, which I will work among them, and after that he is to send you out. And I will give these people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, and whenever you escape, you are not to depart empty. But every woman will ask of her neighbor and fellow lodger articles of gold and silver, and apparel, and you are to put them upon your sons, and upon your daughters, and you are to plunder the Egyptians. Chapter 4. And Moses answered and said, What if they do not believe me, and do not obey my voice? For they are to say, God has not appeared to you, what will I say to them? And Yahweh said to him, What is this thing that is in your hand? And he said, A rod. And he said, Cast it on the ground. And he cast it on the ground, and it became a serpent, and Moses fled from it. And Yahweh said to Moses, Stretch out your hand, and take hold of its tail. So he stretched out his hand, and took hold of the tail, and it became a rod in his hand, that they may believe you, that the God of your fathers has appeared to you, the God of Abraham, and God of Isaac, and God of Jacob. And Yahweh said again to him, Put your hand into your bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom, and brought his hand out of his bosom, and his hand became as snow. And he said again, put your hand into your bosom, and he put his hand into his bosom, and brought his hand out of his bosom, and it was again restored like his other flesh. And if they are not to believe you, nor attend to the voice of the first sign, they are to believe you because of the voice of the second sign. And it is to come to pass if they are not to believe you for these two signs, and will not attend to your voice, then take the water of the river and pour it on the dry land, and the water which you take from the river will become blood on the dry land. And Moses said to Yahuwah, I pray, Yahuwah, I have not been eloquent in former times, up until this time, that you have begun to speak to your servant. I am a weak speaker, and slow-tongued. And Yahuwah said to Moses, who has given man his mouth, and who has made the very hard of hearing, and the deaf, the seeing and the blind? Was it not I, God? And now go, and I will open your mouth, and will instruct you in what you are to say. And Moses said, I pray you, Yahuwah, appoint a more able person whom you are to send. And Yahuwah was greatly angered against Moses, and said, Lo, is not Aaron the Levite your brother? I know that he is to surely speak to you, and, behold, he is to come out to meet you, and seeing you, he is to rejoice within himself. And you are to speak to him, and you are to put my words into his mouth, and I will open your mouth in his mouth, and I will instruct you in what you are to do. And he shall be your spokesman unto the people, and he shall be, even he shall be to you instead of a mouth, and you shall be to him instead of God. And this rod, that turned into a serpent you are to take in your hand, with it you are to work miracles. And Moses went and returned to Jethro his father-in-law, and said, I will go, and return to my brothers in Egypt, and will see, if they are still living. And Jethro said to Moses, Go in health. And in those days after some time, the king of Egypt died. And Yahuwah said to Moses in Midian, Go, depart into Egypt, for all that sought your life are dead. And Moses took his woman and his children, and mounted them on the beasts, and returned to Egypt, and Moses took the rod of God in his hand. And Yahuwah said to Moses, When you go to return to Egypt, see that you all those wonders I have put in your hand. But I will harden his heart, and he is to certainly not let the people go. And you are to say to Pharaoh, Thus says Yahuwah, Israel is my firstborn. And I said to you, Let my people go, that they may serve me now. If you are not to let them go, see, I will slay your firstborn son. And it came to pass, that the angel of Yahuwah met him on the way by the inn, and sought to slay him. And Zipporah having taken a stone cut off the foreskin of her son, and cast it at his feet and said, The blood of the circumcision of my son is halted. And she departed from him, because she said, The blood of the circumcision of my son is halted. And Yahuwah said to Aaron, Go into the wilderness to meet Moses. And he went and met him in the mount of God, and greeted each other with a kiss. And Moses reported to Aaron all the words of Yahuwah, which he sent, and all the things which he charged him. And Moses and Aaron went and gathered the elders of the sons of Israel. And Aaron told all the words, which God said to Moses, and brought the miracles before the people. And the people believed and rejoiced, because God visited the sons of Israel, and because he saw their affliction, and the people bowed and worshipped. Chapter 5. And after this went in Moses and Aaron to Pharaoh, and they said to him, These things say why God of Israel, let my people go, that they may keep a feast to me in the wildernesses. And Pharaoh said, Who is he, that I should listen to his voice, so that I should let the sons of Israel go? I do not know Yahuwah, and I will not let Israel go. And they said to him, The God of the Hebrews called us to himself, we are going to go therefore, on a 3-day journey into the wilderness, that we may sacrifice to Yahuwah our God, so that he does not strike us with a plague or sword. And the king of Egypt said to them, Why are you, Moses and Aaron, turning the people away from their works? Depart each of you to your labor. And Pharaoh said, Behold now, the people are very numerous, so we are not to then give them rest from their work. And Pharaoh gave orders to the supervisors of the people and the accountants, saying, You are to no longer give straw to the people for making brick, as of yesterday and the 3rd day, but let them go, and collect straw for themselves. But you are to require of them the daily rate of brick making as they were making before. You are not to abate anything, for they are lazy, that why they have cried, saying, Let us arise, and do sacrifice to our God. Let the work of these men be made grievous, and let them care for these things, and not care for vain words. And the supervisors and the accountants hurried to speak to the people, saying, Thus says Pharaoh, I will give you straw no longer. Go you, yourselves, find yourselves straw from wherever you can find it, for there will be no reduction from your quota. So the people were dispersed in all the land of Egypt to gather stubble for straw. And the supervisors hurried them, saying, "Fulfill your regular daily quota of brick, the same as when straw was given to you." And the Israelite accountants whom Pharaoh's supervisors had set over them were beaten and questioned, saying, "Why did you not fulfill your quota of brick yesterday and the third day, today also?" And the accountants of the sons of Israel went in and cried to Pharaoh, saying, "Why do you act this way to your servants? Straw is not given to your servants, but they tell us to make brick, and behold, your servants have been beaten, the fault is with your people." And he said to them, "You are lazy, you are slackers, that's why you say, 'Let us go and sacrifice to our God.' Now then, go to work, but straw will not be given to you, yet you are to return the same quota of bricks as before." And the accountants of the sons of Israel saw themselves in a spiteful predicament, men saying, "You are not to fail to deliver the daily quota of making brick." And they met Moses and Aaron coming out to meet them, as they came out from Pharaoh. And they said to them, "The Yahuwah look upon you and judge you, for you have made our odor repulsive before Pharaoh and his servants, you have put a sword in his hands to slay us." And Moses turned to Yahuwah and said, "I pray, Yahuwah, why had you afflicted these people, and why did you send me? From the time that I went to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has afflicted these people, but you have not delivered your people." Chapter 6. And Yahuwah said to Moses, "Now you are to see what I will do to Pharaoh, for he is to send them out with a mighty hand, and a strong arm he is to drive them out of his land." And God spoke to Moses and said to him, "I am Yahuwah. And I appeared to Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, being their God, but I did not manifest to them my name, Yahuwah. And I established my covenant with them to give them the land of the Canaanites, the land of their pilgrimage, where they dwelt as strangers. And I regarded the groaning of the sons of Israel, the affliction with which the Egyptians enslaved them, and I remember the covenant with you. Go, speak to the sons of Israel, saying, I am Yahuwah, and I will lead you out of enslavement by the Egyptians, and I will deliver you from bondage, and I will ransom you with a high arm and great judgment. And you people, I will take for myself, and will be your God, and you are to know that I am Yahuwah your God, who brought you out of enslavement by the Egyptians. And I will bring you into the land, where I stretched out my hand to give to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and I will give it to you for an inheritance. I am Yahuwah." And Moses told this to the sons of Israel, but they did not listen to Moses, because of their anguish of spirit due to their grievous burdens. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, "Go in, speak to Pharaoh king of Egypt, tell him to send the sons of Israel out of his land." And Moses spoke before Yahuwah, saying, "Behold, the sons of Israel did not listen to me, so why will Pharaoh obey my voice? Also, I am not an eloquent speaker." And Yahuwah spoke to Moses and Aaron, and gave a directive to Pharaoh king of Egypt, to bring the sons of Israel out of the land of Egypt. And these are the heads of household of their patriarchs, the sons of Reuben the firstborn of Israel, Enoch, and Palu, Hezron, and Carmi, those are the families of Reuben. And the sons of Simeon are Jemuel, Jamin, and Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul the son of a Phoenician woman, these are the families of the sons of Simeon. And these are the names of the sons of Levi according to their families, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari, and the years of the life of Levi were 137. And these are the sons of Gershon, Libni and Shimei, the houses of their family. And the sons of Kohath are Amram and Izhar, Hebron, and Uzziel, and the years of the life of Kohath were 133 years. And the sons of Merari are Mali, and Mushi, these are the houses of the families of Levi according to their kindreds. And Amram took to be his woman Jocheb the daughter of his father's brother, and she bore to him both Aaron and Moses, and Miriam their sister, and the years of the life of Amram were 132 years. And the sons of Izhar, Korah, and Nepheg, and Zikri. And the sons of Uzziel, Miziel, and Elzaphan, and Zithri. And Aaron took to be his woman Elizabeth daughter of Aminadab sister of Nahshon, and she bore to him Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. And the sons of Korah are Asher, Elkanah, and Abiasaph, these are the families of Korah. And Eleazar the son of Aaron took a woman of one of the daughters of Putiel, and she bore to him Phinehas. These are the patriarchs of the Levites, according to their families. The same Aaron and Moses to whom God told bring out the sons of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their regiments. They were the men that spoke with Pharaoh king of Egypt, saying, Bring out the sons of Israel from the land of Egypt. It was the same Moses and Aaron, in the day in which Yahuwah spoke to Moses in the land of Egypt. Then Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, I am Yahuwah, speak to Pharaoh king of Egypt, whatever I say to you. And Moses said before Yahuwah, Behold, I am not able in speech, and how will Pharaoh obey my voice? Chapter 7. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, Behold, I have made you a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron your brother will be your prophet. And you are to say to him all the things that I command you, and Aaron your brother will speak to Pharaoh, that he should send the sons of Israel out of his land. And I will harden the heart of Pharaoh, and I will multiply my signs and wonders in the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh will not listen to you, and I will lay my hand upon Egypt, and will bring out my people the sons of Israel with my power out of the land of Egypt with great vengeance. And all the Egyptians will know that I am Yahuwah, stretching out my hand upon Egypt, and I will bring the sons of Israel out of their midst. And Moses and Aaron did as Yahuwah commanded them, so did they. And Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron his brother was 83 years old, when they spoke to Pharaoh. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, Now if Pharaoh should speak to you, saying, Give us a sign or a wonder, then will you say to your brother Aaron, Take your rod, and cast it upon the ground before Pharaoh, and before his servants, and it is to become a serpent. And Moses and Aaron went in before Pharaoh his servants, and they did as Yahuwah commanded them, and Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh and his servants, and it became a serpent. But Pharaoh called together the sorcerers of Egypt, and the magicians, and the charmers also of the Egyptians did likewise with their secret arts. And they cast down their rods, and they too became serpents, but the rod of Aaron swallowed up their rods. And the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, and he did not listen to them, as Yahuwah had said. And Yahuwah said to Moses, The heart of Pharaoh is hardened, so that he should not let my people go. Go to Pharaoh early in the morning, behold, he goes out to the water, and you are to meet him on the bank of the river, and you are to take in your hand a rod, that turned into a serpent. And you are to say to him, Why God of the Hebrews has sent me to you, saying, Let my people go, that they may serve me in the wildernesses, and, behold, thus far you have not listened. Thus says Yahuwah, In this is to you know that I am Yahuwah, behold, I strike with the rod, that is in my hand on the water in the river, and it is to change into blood. And the fish in the river will die, and the river will stink, and the Egyptians will not be able to drink of the water from the river. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Say to your brother Aaron, Take the rod in your hand, and stretch out your hand over the waters of Egypt, and over their rivers, and over their canals, and over their ponds, and over all their standing water, and it is to become blood. And there was blood in all the land of Egypt, both in vessels of wood and of stone. And Moses and Aaron did as Yahuwah commanded them, and Aaron lifted up his hand with the rod, struck the water in the river before Pharaoh, and before his servants, and changed all the water in the river into blood. And the fish in the river died, and the river stank, and the Egyptians could not drink of the water from the river, and there was blood throughout the land of Egypt. But the magicians of the Egypt also did the same with their sorceries, and the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, and he did not listen to them, even as Yahuwah said. But Pharaoh turned, and went into his house. He did not give any thought to what had just happened. And all the Egyptians dug around the river, so as to drink water, for they could not drink water from the river. And 7 days were fulfilled after Yahuwah had struck the river. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Go to Pharaoh, and say to him, Thus says Yahuwah, Let my people go, that they may serve me. And if you will not to let them go, behold, I afflict all your borders with frogs, and the river will teem with frogs, and they are to go up and enter into your houses, and into your bedrooms, and upon your beds, and upon the houses of your servants, and of your people, and on your dough, and in your ovens. And upon you, and upon your servants, and upon your people, will the frogs come up. Chapter 8. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Say to Aaron your brother, Extend your hand with the staff over the rivers, and over the canals, and over the pools, and bring up the frogs. And Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up, and frogs covered the land of Egypt. And the magicians of the Egyptians did the same with their sorceries, and frogs came upon the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron, and said, Pray for me to Yahuwah, and let him take away the frogs from me, and from my people, and I will let them go, that they may sacrifice to Yahuwah. And Moses said to Pharaoh, Appoint me a time, when I will pray for you, and for your servants, and for your people, to cause the frogs to be removed from you, and from your people, and from your houses, only in the river will there be any frogs. And he said, Tomorrow. Therefore he said, As you have said, that you may know, that there is no other God, but Yahuwah. And the frogs will be removed away from you, and from your houses, and from the villages, and from your servants, and from your people, only in the river will they be left. And Moses and Aaron went out from Pharaoh, and Moses called out to the Lord concerning the epidemic of frogs, as Pharaoh agreed. And Yahuwah did as Moses asked, and the frogs died out of the houses, and out of the villages, and out of the fields. And they gathered them together in heaps, and the land stank. And when Pharaoh saw that there was relief, his heart became hardened, but he did not listen to them, just as Yahuwah had said. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Say to Aaron, Stretch out your staff with your hand, and strike the dust of the earth, and there will be lice both upon man and beasts, and in all the land of Egypt. So Aaron stretched out his staff with his hand, and struck the dust of the earth, and lice were on men and beasts, and in all the dust of the earth there were lice. And the magicians also tried to do the same with their sorceries, and bring lice forth, but they could not. So, lice were on men and beasts. So the charmer said to Pharaoh, This is the finger of God. But the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, and he did not regard them as Yahuwah had said. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Rise up early in the morning and stand before Pharaoh, and, behold, he goes out to the water. You are to say to him, The Yahuwah says, Let my people go, that they may serve me in the wildernesses. And if you will not let my people go, behold, I send upon you, and your servants, and your people, and within your houses, the dogfly, and the houses of the Egyptians will be filled with the dogfly throughout the land. And in that day, I will marvelously set apart the land of Goshen, on which my people dwell, so that the dogfly will not be found, that you may know that I am Yahuwah the God of all the earth. And I will put a difference between my people and your people, and tomorrow this is to be on the land. And Yahuwah did so. And the dogfly came in swarms into the houses of Pharaoh, and the houses of his servants, and throughout the land of Egypt, and the land was destroyed by the dogfly. And Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron, saying, Go and sacrifice to Yahuwah your God within the land of Egypt. But Moses said, That would not be right, because the sacrifices we make to Yahuwah our God would be an abomination to the Egyptians. If we make sacrifices that are an abomination to the Egyptians right in front of their eyes, will they not stone us? We are to go on a journey 3 days into the wilderness, and we are to sacrifice to Yahuwah our God, as Yahuwah said to us. And Pharaoh said, I will let you go, and do your sacrifice to your God in the wilderness, but do not go very far away. Now, pray for me to Yahuwah. And Moses said, I then will go out from you, and pray to God, and the dogfly will depart both from your servants, and from your people tomorrow. Do not, Pharaoh, deceive me again, so as not to let the people go to do sacrifice to Yahuwah. And Moses went out from Pharaoh, and prayed to God. And Yahuwah did as Moses asked, and removed the dogfly from Pharaoh, and from his servants, and from his people, and there was not one left. And Pharaoh hardened his heart even on this occasion, and he would not let the people go. Chapter 9. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Go to Pharaoh, and say to him, Thus says Yahweh God of the Hebrews, Let my people go, that they may serve me. If however you will not let my people go, but yet detain them, behold, the hand of Yahuwah will be upon your cattle in the fields, on the horses, donkeys, camels, oxen, and sheep, an exceedingly great plague. And at that time, I will make a marvelous distinction between the cattle of the Egyptians and the cattle of the sons of Israel. Nothing will die of all that belongs to the sons of Israel. And God fixed a limit, saying, Tomorrow Yahuwah will do this thing in the land. And Yahuwah did that thing on the next day, and all the cattle of the Egyptians died, but the cattle of the sons of Israel not one died. And when Pharaoh saw that of all the cattle of the sons of Israel there died not one, the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, and he did not let my people go. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, Take handfuls of ashes from the furnace, and let Moses scatter it toward heaven in front of Pharaoh and his servants. And let it become dust over all the land of Egypt, and there will be a plague, a festering boil upon men and beasts in all the land of Egypt. So he took of the ashes of the furnace before Pharaoh, and Moses scattered it toward heaven, and it became a plague of festering boils on men and beasts. And the magicians could not stand before Moses, because of the sores, for the sores were on the magicians, and in all the land of Egypt. And Yahuwah hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not regard them as Yahuwah had said. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Rise up early in the morning, and stand before Pharaoh, and say to him, Thus says Yahweh God of the Hebrews, Let my people go, that they may serve me. For at this present time do I send out all my plagues into your heart, and the heart of your servants, and of your people, that you may know that there is not another such as I in all the earth. For now I will stretch out my hand, and strike you and kill your people, and you are to be consumed from off the earth. And for this purpose have you been preserved, that I might display in you my strength, and that my name might be published in all the earth. Do you then yet exert yourself to hinder my people, so as to not let them go? Behold, tomorrow at this hour I will rain a very great hail, such as has not been in Egypt, from the time it was created until this day. Now then hurry to gather your cattle, and all that you have in the fields, for all the men and cattle as many as to be found in the fields, and do not enter into a house, the hail will fall upon them, and they are to die. Of the servants of Pharaoh, that feared the word of Yahuwah gathered his cattle into houses. And he that did not regard the word of Yahuwah, left his servants and cattle in the fields. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Stretch out your hand to heaven, and there will be hail on all the land of Egypt, on the men, and cattle, and on all the foliage of the land. And Moses stretched out his hand to heaven, and Yahuwah sent thunder and hail, and the fire ran along the ground, and Yahuwah rained hail on all the land of Egypt. So it volleyed, fire mingled with hail, and the hail was very great, such as was not in Egypt, from the time there was a nation upon it. And the hail struck in all the land of Egypt both man and beast, and the hail struck all the grass in the field, and the hail broke in pieces all the trees in the field. Only in the land of Goshen, where the sons of Israel lived, there was no hail. And Pharaoh sent and called for Moses and Aaron, and said to them, I have sinned this time, Yahuwah is righteous, and I and my people are wicked. Entreat Yahuwah, and let him cause the thunder of God to cease, and the hail and the fire, and I will send you out, and you shall stay no longer. And Moses said to him, When I will have departed from the city, I will stretch out my hands to Yahuwah, and the thunder will cease, and the hail will be no longer, that you may know that the earth is Yahuwah's. But as for you and your servants, I know that you have not yet feared Yahuwah. And the flax and the barley were destroyed, the barley was ripe, and the flax was budding. But the wheat and the rye were not destroyed, for they were late. And Moses left Pharaoh, and went out of the city, and stretched out his hands to Yahuwah, and the thunder ceased and the hail, but also the rain did not drop on the earth. And when Pharaoh saw that the rain and the hail and the thunder ceased, he continued to sin, and he hardened his heart, and the heart of his servants. And the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, and he did not let the sons of Israel go, as Yahuwah had said to Moses. Chapter 10. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, Go to Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart, and the heart of his servants, in order to show these signs of mine upon them, that you may know I am Yahuwah. That you may tell it in the ears of your children, and to your children's children, in how many things I have mocked the Egyptians, and my wonders which I bring among them, and you are to know that I am Yahuwah. And Moses and Aaron went in before Pharaoh, and they said to him, Thus says Yahweh God of the Hebrews, How long do you refuse to reverence me? Let my people go, that they may serve me. But if you will not let my people go, behold, at this hour tomorrow I will bring hordes of locusts upon all your coasts. And they are to cover the face of the earth, so that you will not be able to see the ground, and they are to devour all that is left of the earth, which the hail has left behind, and will devour every tree that grows for you on the land. And your houses will be filled with locusts, and the houses of your servants, and all the houses throughout the land of the Egypt. Things which your fathers have never seen, nor their forefathers, from the day that they were on the earth until this day. And Moses turned away, and departed from Pharaoh. And the servants of Pharaoh say to him, How long will this be a menace to us? Let my people go, that they may serve their God. Do you not comprehend that Egypt is destroyed? And they brought back both Moses and Aaron to Pharaoh, and he said to them, Go and serve Yahuwah your God, but who are they that are going with you? And Moses said, We will go with the young and the old, with our sons, and daughters, and sheep, and oxen, for it is a feast of Yahuwah. And he said to them, So let Yahuwah be with you, as I send you away. Must I send away your store also? See, your intentions are clearly evil. Not so, but only let the men go and serve God, for this is what you want. And they cast them out from the presence of Pharaoh. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Stretch out your hand over the land of Egypt, and let the locust come up on the land, and they are to devour every herb of the land, and all the fruit of the trees, which the hail left. And Moses lifted up his staff towards heaven, and Yahuwah brought a south wind upon the earth, all that day and all that night. The morning dawned, and the south wind brought up the locusts, and brought them up over all the land of Egypt. And they went up in great numbers over all the borders of Egypt. There had never been locusts like them before, nor will there ever be such again. And they covered the face of the earth, and the land was laid waste, and they devoured all the foliage of the land, and all the fruit of the trees, which was left by the hill. There was no green thing left on the trees, nor on all the foliage of the field, in all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh hurried to call Moses and Aaron, saying, I have sinned before Yahuwah your God, and against you. Pardon my sin yet this time, and pray to Yahuwah your God, and let him take this death away from me. And Moses went out from Pharaoh, and prayed to God. And Yahuwah brought in the opposite direction a strong wind from the sea, and took up the locusts, and cast them into the Red Sea, and there was not one locust left in all the land of Egypt. But Yahuwah hardened the heart of Pharaoh, and he did not let the sons of Israel go. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Stretch out your hand to heaven, and let there be darkness over the land of Egypt, a darkness that can be felt. And Moses stretched out his hand to heaven, and there was darkness very black, even a storm over all the land of Egypt 3 days. And for 3 days no man saw his brother, and no man rose up from his bed for 3 days, but all the sons of Israel had light in all the places where they were. And Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron, saying, Go, serve Yahuwah your God, only leave your sheep and your oxen, and let your store depart with you. And Moses said, Nay, but you are to provide to us whole burnt offerings and sacrifices, which we are to sacrifice to Yahuwah our God. And our cattle will go with us, and we will not leave a hoof behind. We take them to serve Yahuwah our God, but we do not know in what manner we are to serve Yahuwah our God, until we arrive there. But Yahuwah hardened the heart of Pharaoh, and he would not let them go. And Pharaoh says, Depart from me, beware of seeing my face again, for in the day you appear before me, you are to die. And Moses said, As you have said, I will not appear in your presence again. Chapter 11. And Yahuwah said to Moses, I will yet bring one more plague upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt, and after that he is to let you go, and he is to send you out with all your things, he is to indeed drive you out. Speak secretly in the ears of the people, and let everyone ask of his neighbor jewels of silver and gold, and raiment. And Yahuwah gave his people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, and they lent to them. The man Moses was very great before the Egyptians, and before Pharaoh, and before his servants. And Moses said, Thus says Yahuwah, About midnight I will go out into the midst of Egypt. And every firstborn in the land of Egypt will die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh, that sits on the throne, even to the firstborn of the maidservant, that is by the mill, and to the firstborn of all cattle. And there will be a great cry through all the land of Egypt, such as has not been, and such will not ever be repeated. But among all the sons of Israel will not a dog snarl with his tongue, either at man or beast, that you may know how wide a distinction Yahuwah will make between the Egyptians and Israel. And all these your servants will come down to me, and do me reverence, saying, Go out, you and all the people over whom you preside, and afterwards I will go out. And Moses went out from Pharaoh with wrath. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Pharaoh will not listen to you, that I may greatly multiply my signs and wonders in the land of Egypt. And Moses and Aaron brought all these signs and wonders in the land of Egypt before Pharaoh, and Yahuwah hardened the heart of Pharaoh, and he did not listen to let the sons of Israel go out of the land of Egypt. Chapter 12. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month will be to you the beginning of months, it is the first among the months of the year. Speak to all the church of the sons of Israel, saying, On the 10th day of this month, every man shall take for himself an animal of the flock, according to the house of his father, a flock animal for a household. If any household is too small for a lamb, the man and his next door neighbor are to share a lamb according to the number of people. You are to make your reckoning for the lamb according to how much each one can eat. Your lamb must be unblemished, a year-old male. You are to take it of the lambs and the kids. And it is to be kept by you until the 14th of this month, and all the multitude of the church of the sons of Israel will kill it toward evening. And they are to take the blood, and will put it on the 2 doorposts, and on the lintel, of the houses in which they eat them. And they are to eat the flesh in this night, roasted with fire, and they are to eat unleavened bread with bitter herbs. You will not eat it raw or boiled in water, but only roasted with fire, the head with the feet and the entrails. Nothing will be left of it until the morning, and you are not to break a bone of it, but that which is left until the morning you are to burn with fire. And thus you are to eat it. Dressed to travel, and your sandals on your feet, and your poles in your hands, and you are to eat it in haste. It is the Passover to Yahuwah. And I will go through the land of Egypt in that night, and will kill every firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and on all the gods of Egypt will I execute vengeance. I am Yahuwah. And the blood will be a sign for you on the houses where you are, and I will see the blood, and will protect you, and this plague of destruction will not be upon you when I attack the land of Egypt. And this day will be to you a memorial, and you are to keep this feast to Yahuwah through all your generations. You are to keep this feast for an everlasting instruction. You are to eat unleavened bread for 7 days, and from the first day you are to utterly remove leaven from your houses. Whoever eats leaven, that soul will be utterly destroyed from Israel, from the first day until the 7th day. And the first day will be called holy, and the 7th day will be a holy assemblage to you. You are not to do service for hire on them, except as much as is necessary to do for every soul. This only shall be done by you. And you are to keep this commandment, for on this selfsame day will I bring your armies out of the land of Egypt, and you are to make this day an everlasting instruction for you throughout your generations. Beginning the 14th day of the first month, you are to eat unleavened bread from evening until the 21st day of the month, until evening. 7 days leaven will not be found in your houses. Whoever will eat anything leavened, that soul will be cut off from the church of Israel, both among the occupiers of the land and the original inhabitants. You are to eat nothing leavened, but in every habitation of yours you are to eat unleavened bread. And Moses called all the elders of the sons of Israel, and said to them, Go now, and take a lamb according to your kindreds, and slay the Passover. Take a branch of hyssop, dip it into the blood that is by the door. You are to strike the lintel and both door posts, even of the blood which is by the door. None will go out from the door of his house until the morning. And Yahuwah will pass by to strike the Egyptians, and will see the blood upon the lintel and upon both the door posts. And Yahuwah will pass by the door, and will not suffer the destroyer to enter into your houses to strike you. And keep this instruction for yourself and for your children forever. And if you should enter into the land which Yahuwah will give you, as he has spoken, keep this service. And it is to come to pass, if your sons say to you, What is this service? That you are to say to them, This Passover is a sacrifice to Yahuwah, as he defended the houses of the sons of Israel in Egypt, when he struck the Egyptians, but delivered our houses. And the people bowed and worshipped. And the sons of Israel departed, and did as Yahuwah commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass at midnight that Yahuwah struck all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on the throne, to the firstborn of the prisoner in the dungeon, and the firstborn of all cattle. And Pharaoh rose up by night, and his servants, and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in all the land of Egypt, for there was not a house where was not one dead. And Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron by night, and said to them, Rise and depart from my people, both you and the sons of Israel. Go and serve Yahuwah your God, even as you say. And take with you your sheep and your oxen. Bless me also, I pray you. And the Egyptians forced the people out, so that they drove them out of the land with haste, for they said, We all will die. And the people took the dough before their meal was leavened, bound up as it was in their garments, on their shoulders. And the sons of Israel did as Moses commanded them, and they asked of the Egyptians articles of silver and gold and clothing. And Yahuwah gave his people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, and they lent to them, and they spoiled the Egyptians. And the sons of Israel departed from Rameses to Succoth, to the full number of 600,000 men on foot, besides their dependents. And a great intermixed people group went up with them, and sheep, oxen, and much cattle. And they baked the dough which they brought out of Egypt, unleavened cakes, for it had not been leavened, for the Egyptians cast them out, and they could not remain. Neither did they prepare provision for themselves for the journey. And the sojourn of the sons of Israel, while they dwelt in the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan, was 430 years. And it came to pass after the 430 years, all the armies of Yahuwah came out of the land of Egypt by night. It is a watch kept to Yahuwah, so that he should bring them out of the land of Egypt. That very night is a watch kept to Yahuwah, so that it should be to all the sons of Israel to their generations. And Yahuwah said to Moses and Aaron, This is the law of the Passover, no stranger will eat of it. And every slave or servant bought with money, him you are to circumcise, and then will he eat of it. A foreigner or hireling will not eat of it. In one house it is to be eaten, and you are not to carry the flesh out of the house, and you are not to break a bone of it. All the church of the sons of Israel will keep it. And if any proselyte will come to you to keep the Passover to Yahuwah, you are to circumcise every male of him, and then will he approach to sacrifice it, and he is to be even as the native inhabitant of the land. No uncircumcised person will eat of it. There will be one law to the native, and to the proselyte coming among you. And the sons of Israel did as Yahuwah commanded Moses and Aaron for them, so they did. And it came to pass in that day that Yahuwah brought out the sons of Israel from the land of Egypt with their armies. Chapter 13. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, Sanctify to me every firstborn, opening every womb among the sons of Israel, both of man and beast, it is mine. And Moses said to the people, Remember this day, in which you came out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, for with a strong hand Yahuwah brought you out, and leaven will not be eaten. For on this day you go out in the month of new corn. And it shall be when Yahuwah your God has brought you into the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and Amorites, and Hivites, and Jebusites, and Girgashites, and Perizzites, which he swore to your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, that you are to perform this service in this month. 6 days you are to eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day is a feast to Yahuwah. 7 days will you eat unleavened bread, nothing leavened will be seen with you, neither will you have leaven in all your borders. And you are to tell your son in that day, saying, Therefore Yahuwah dealt thus with me, as I was going out of Egypt. And it is to be to you a sign upon your hand and a memorial before your eyes, that the law of Yahuwah may be in your mouth, for with a strong hand God brought you out of Egypt. And preserve this law according to the times of the seasons, from year to year. And it is to come to pass, when Yahuwah your God will bring you into the land of the Canaanites, as he swore to your fathers, and will give it to you, that you are to set apart every offspring that opens the womb, the males to Yahuwah, everyone that opens the womb out of the herds, or among your cattle, as many as you are to have, you are to sanctify the males to Yahuwah. Every offspring that opens the womb of the donkey you are to change for a sheep, and if you are not to change it, you are to redeem it. Every firstborn of man of your sons will you redeem. And if your son should ask you, saying, What is this? Then you are to say to him, With a strong hand Yahuwah brought us out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. And when Pharaoh hardened his heart so as not to let us go, he slew every firstborn in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. Therefore do I sacrifice every offspring that opens the womb, the males to Yahuwah, and every firstborn of my sons I will redeem. And it is to be for a sign upon your hand, and immovable before your eyes, for with a strong hand Yahuwah brought you out of Egypt. And when Pharaoh sent out the people, God did not lead them by way of the land of the Philistines, although it was near, for God said, Lest at any time the people change their minds when they see war, and return to Egypt. And God led the people around by the way to the wilderness, to the Red Sea, and in the 5th generation the sons of Israel went up out of the land of Egypt. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had solemnly instructed the sons of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and you are to carry up my bones with you. And the sons of Israel departed from Succoth, and encamped in Etham by the wilderness. And God led them, in the day by a pillar of cloud, to show them the way, and in the night by a pillar of fire. He did not take away the pillar of cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night, before all the people. Chapter 14. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the sons of Israel, and let them turn, and encamp before the Pi-hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea, opposite Baal-zephon. Before them will you encamp by the sea. For Pharaoh will say to his people, As for these sons of Israel, they are wandering in the land, for the wilderness has shut them in. And I will harden the heart of Pharaoh, and he is to pursue after them, and I will be glorified in Pharaoh, and in all his armies, and all the Egyptians will know that I am Yahuwah. And they did so. And it was reported to the king of the Egyptians that the people had fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and his servants was turned against the people, and they said, What is this that we have done, to let the sons of Israel go, so that they should not serve us? So Pharaoh yocked his chariots, and all his army, having also taken 600 chosen chariots, and all the cavalry of the Egyptians, and officers over all. And Yahuwah hardened the heart of Pharaoh king of Egypt, and of his servants, and he pursued after the sons of Israel, and the sons of Israel went out with a high hand. And the Egyptians pursued after them, and found them encamped by the sea, and all the cavalry and the chariots of Pharaoh, and the horsemen, and his army were beside Pi-hahiroth, and before Baal-zephon. And Pharaoh got closer, and the sons of Israel looked up, and saw the Egyptians marching after them, and they were greatly terrified. And the sons of Israel cried to Yahuwah, and said to Moses, Because there were no graves in the land of Egypt, have you brought us out to slay us in the wilderness? What is this that you have done to us, having brought us out of Egypt? Is not this the word which we spoke to you in Egypt, saying, Let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians, for it is better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in this wilderness? And Moses said to the people, Be of good courage, stand and see the salvation from Yahuwah, which he is to work for us this day, for as you have seen the Egyptians today, you are to never see them ever again. The Yahuwah will fight for you, and you are to hold your peace. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Why do you cry out to me? Speak to the sons of Israel, and let them proceed. Lift up your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it, and let the sons of Israel enter in between the sea on the dry land. And lo, I will harden the heart of Pharaoh and all of the Egyptians, so that they are to go in after them, and I have gotten glory over Pharaoh, and on all his army, and his chariots and his horses. And all the Egyptians will know that I am Yahuwah, when I have gotten glory over Pharaoh, and his chariots and his horses. And the angel of God, that went before the camp of the sons of Israel removed and went behind, and the pillar of the cloud also removed from before them, and stood behind them. And it went between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel, and stood, and there was darkness and blackness, and the night passed, and they came not near to one another during the whole night. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and Yahuwah carried back the sea with a strong south wind all the night, and made the sea dry, and the water was divided. And the sons of Israel went into the midst of the sea on dry land, and the water was a wall on the right hand, and a wall on the left. And the Egyptians pursued them and went in after them, and every horse of Pharaoh, and his chariots, and his horsemen, into the midst of the sea. And it came to pass in the morning watch that Yahuwah looked out on the camp of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and cloud, and troubled the camp of the Egyptians, and jammed the wheels of their chariots, and caused them to go with difficulty. And the Egyptians said, Let us flee from the face of Israel, for Yahuwah fights for them against the Egyptians. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Stretch out your hand over the sea, and let the water be returned back to its place, and let it cover the Egyptians coming both upon the chariots and the riders. And Moses stretched, and the water returned, and covered the chariots and the riders, and all the armies of Pharaoh, who entered after them into the sea, and there was no one left of them, not even one. But the sons of Israel went along dry land in the midst of the sea, and the water was to them a wall on the right hand, and a wall on the left. So Yahuwah delivered Israel in that day from the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead by the shore of the sea. And Israel saw the mighty hand, the things which Yahuwah did to the Egyptians, and the people feared Yahuwah, and they believed God and Moses his servant. Chapter 15. Then Moses and the sons of Israel sang this song to God, and spoke, saying, Let us sing to Yahuwah, for he has triumphed gloriously, horse and rider he has thrown into the sea. Yah is my strength and protector for salvation, he is my God, and I will glorify him, my father's God, and I will exalt him. The Yahuwah brings war to naught, Yahuwah is his name. He has cast the chariots of Pharaoh, and his host into the sea, the chosen mounted captains, they were swallowed up in the Red Sea. He covered them with the sea, they sank to the depth like a stone. Your right hand, O God, has been glorified in strength, your right hand, O God, has broken the enemies. And in the abundance of your glory you have broken the adversaries to pieces. You send out your wrath, it consumed them like stubble. And by the breath of your anger the waters were driven apart, the waters were stacked up like a wall, the waves were congealed in the midst of the sea. The enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoils, I will satisfy my soul, I will destroy with my sword, my hand will have dominion. You send out your wind, the sea covered them, they sank like lead in the mighty water. Who is like you among the gods, O Yahuwah, who is like to you? Majestic in holiness, fearfully praised, working wonders. You stretched out your right hand, the earth swallowed them up. You have guided your people and whom you have redeemed by your judicious right actions, by your strength you have called them into your holy resting place. The nations will hear and tremble, anguish will grip the dwellers among the Philistines. Then the princes of Edom, and the chiefs of the Moabites will be terrified, trembling took hold them, all of the inhabitants of Canaan melted away. Let trembling and fear fall upon them, by the greatness of your arm, let them become like stone, until your people pass over, O Yahuwah, until we your people pass over, whom you have purchased. Bring them in, and plant them in the mountain of their inheritance, in your prepared habitation, which you, O Yahuwah, have prepared, the sanctuary, O Yahuwah, which your hands have made ready. Yahuwah reigns forever and ever and ever. For the horse of Pharaoh went in with the chariots and horsemen into the sea, and Yahuwah brought upon them the water of the sea, but the sons of Israel walked through dry land in the midst of the sea. And Miriam the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, having taken a timbrel in her hand, then there went out all the women after her with timbrels and dances. And Miriam led them, saying, Let us sing to Yahuwah, for he has triumphed gloriously, the horse and rider has he cast into the sea. So Moses brought up the sons of Israel from the Red Sea, and brought them into the wilderness of Shur, and they went 3 days in the wilderness, and found no water to drink. And they came to Marah, and could not drink of Marah, for it was bitter, therefore he named the name of that place, Bitterness. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, What will we drink? And Moses cried to Yahuwah, and Yahuwah showed him a tree, and he cast it into the water, and the water became sweetened. There he established to him ordinances and judgments, and there he proved him, and said, If you are to indeed hear the voice of Yahuwah your God, and do things pleasing before him, and will hearken to his commands, and keep all his ordinances, no disease which I have brought upon the Egyptians will I bring upon you, for I am Yahuwah your God that heals you. And they came to Elim, and there were 12 fountains of water, and 70 stems of palm trees, and they encamped by the waters. Chapter 16. And they departed from Elim, and all the church of the sons of Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, and on the 15th day, in the 2nd month after their departure from the land of Egypt, all the church of the sons of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron. And the sons of Israel said to them, If only we had died by the hand of Yahuwah in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the kettles of meat, and ate bread until we were full, for you have brought us out into this wilderness, to slay all this church with hunger. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Behold, I will rain bread upon you out of heaven, and the people will go out, and they are to gather their daily portion for the day, that I may test them to find out, if they are to walk in my law or not. And it is to come to pass on day 6, that they are to prepare that which they bring in, and it is to be double as much as they gather daily. And Moses and Aaron said to all the church of the sons of Israel, At even you are to know that Yahuwah has brought you out from the land of Egypt, and in the morning, you are to see the glory of Yahuwah, inasmuch as he hears your murmuring against God, and who are we, that you continue to murmur against us? And Moses said, You are to know this, when Yahuwah gives you in the evening flesh to eat, and bread in the morning until you are satisfied, because Yahuwah has heard your murmuring, which you murmur against us, and what are we? For your murmuring is not against us, but against God. And Moses said to Aaron, Say to all the church of the sons of Israel, Come here before God, for he has heard your murmuring. And when Aaron spoke to all the church of the sons of Israel, and they turned toward the wilderness, then the glory of Yahuwah appeared in a cloud. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, I have heard the murmuring of the sons of Israel, speak to them, saying, Towards evening you are to eat flesh, and in the morning you are to be satisfied with bread, and you are to know that I am Yahuwah your God. And when it was evening, quail came up, and covered the camp. In the morning it came to pass, when the dew dried up around the camp, that, behold, on the face of the wilderness, was a small thing like white coriander seed, as a covering over the earth. And when the sons of Israel saw it, they said one to another, What is this? For they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, This is the bread which Yahuwah has given you to eat. This is that which Yahuwah has appointed, gather of it each man for his family, a omer for each person, according to the number of your souls, each of you gather with his fellow lodgers. And the sons of Israel did so, and some gathered more and some less. And having measured the omer full, he that had gathered more had nothing left over, and he that had gathered less had no lack. Each gathered according to the amount of eating of those who belonged to him. And Moses said to them, Let no man leave any of it by morning. But they did not listen to Moses, and kept part of it until the morning, and it bred worms and stank, and Moses was irritated with them. They gathered it every morning, each man according to what he could eat, and when the sun grew hot it melted. And it came to pass on day 6, they gathered double what was needed, 2 omers for one man, and all the chiefs of the community went in and reported it to Moses. And Moses said to them, Is this not the word which Yahuwah spoke? Tomorrow is the Sabbath, a holy rest to Yahuwah. Bake what you are to bake, and seethe what you are to seethe, and all that is left over, lay it aside, and keep it for tomorrow. And they left of it until the morning, as Moses commanded them, and it did not stink, nor were there any worms in it. And Moses said, Eat it today, for today is a Sabbath to Yahuwah, it is to not be found in the field. 6 days you are to gather it, but on the 7th day is a Sabbath, and there will be none on that day. And it came to pass on the 7th day, that some of the people went out to gather, and found none. And Yahuwah said to Moses, How long were you unwilling to hear and obey to my commands and my law? See, for Yahuwah has given you this day as the Sabbath, therefore he has given you on day 6 the bread of 2 days, you are to stay each of you in your houses, let no one go out from his place on the 7th day. And the people kept Sabbath on the seventh day. And the sons of Israel called the name of it manna, and it was as white as coriander seed, and it tasted like a wafer with honey. And Moses said, This is the thing which Yahuwah has commanded, fill an omer with manna, to be laid up for your generations, that they may see the bread which you ate in the wilderness, when Yahuwah led you out of the land of Egypt. And Moses said to Aaron, Take a golden pot, and put in it 1 full omer of manna, and lay it up before God, to be kept for your generations, as Yahuwah commanded Moses, and Aaron laid it up before the ark of the testimony to be kept. And the sons of Israel ate manna 40 years, until they came to the land did they eat the manna, until they came to the region of Phoenicia. Now the omer was the 10th part of 3 measures. Chapter 17. And all the church of the sons of Israel departed from the wilderness of Sin, according to their campsites as instructed by the word of Yahuwah, and they pitched camp in Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. And the people reviled Moses, saying, Give us water to drink. And Moses said to them, Why do you revile me, and why do you tempt Yahuwah? And the people thirsted there for water, and there the people murmured against Moses, saying, Why is this? Have you brought us up out of Egypt to kill us, and our children and our cattle with thirst? And Moses cried to Yahuwah, saying, What will I do to these people? Yet a little while and they are to stone me. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Go over before the people, take with you some of the elders of Israel, and take your staff in your hand with which you struck the Nile and go. Behold, before you come, I will be standing on the rock in Horeb, and you are to strike the rock, and water will come out from it, and the people will drink. And Moses did so in view of the elders of Israel. And he called the name of that place, Temptation and Reviling, because of the reviling of the sons of Israel, and because they tempted Yahuwah, saying, Is Yahuwah among us or not? And Amalek came and attacked Israel in Rephidim. And Moses said to Joshua, Choose for us some mighty men, and go set the army in array against Amalek tomorrow, and, behold, I will stand on the top of the hill, and the staff of God will be in my hand. And Joshua did as Moses said to him, and he went out and set the army in array against Amalek, and Moses and Aaron and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And it came to pass, when Moses lifted up his hands, Israel prevailed, and when he let down his hands, Amalek prevailed. But the hands of Moses were heavy, and they took a stone, and put it under him, and he sat upon it, and Aaron and Hur supported his hands one on this side and the other on that, and the hands of Moses were supported until the going down of the sun. And Joshua overwhelmed Amalek and all his people with the slaughter of the sword. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Write this for a memorial in a book, and speak this in the ears of Joshua, for I will utterly blot out the memorial of Amalek from under heaven. And Moses built an altar to Yahuwah, and called the name of it, Yahuwah my refuge. For with a secret hand Yahuwah wages war upon Amalek to all generations. Chapter 18. And Jethro the priest of Midian, the father-in-law of Moses, heard of all that Yahuwah did for his people Israel, in that Yahuwah brought Israel out of Egypt. And Jethro the father-in-law of Moses took Zipporah the woman of Moses, after she had been sent away, and her 2 sons, the name of the one was Gershom, his father saying, I was an alien in a strange land, and the name of the second Eliezer, saying, For the God of my father is my helper, and he has rescued me out of the hand of Pharaoh. And Jethro the father-in-law of Moses, and his sons and his wife, went to Moses in the wilderness, where he had pitched camp on the mount of God. And it was told Moses, saying, Behold, your father-in-law Jethro is coming to you, and your woman and 2 sons with him. And Moses went out to meet his father-in-law, and did him obeisance, and kissed him, and they embraced each other, and he brought them into the tent. And Moses related to his father-in-law all things that Yahuwah did to Pharaoh and all the Egyptians for Israel's sake, and all the travail that had befallen them in the way, and that Yahuwah had rescued them out of the hand of Pharaoh, and out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Jethro was amazed at all the good things which Yahuwah did to them, forasmuch as he rescued them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of Pharaoh. And Jethro said, Blessed be Yahuwah, because he has rescued them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of Pharaoh. Now know I that Yahuwah is great above all gods, because of this, where they attacked them. And Jethro the father-in-law of Moses took whole burnt offerings and sacrifices for God, for Aaron and all the elders of Israel came to eat bread with the father-in-law of Moses before God. On the next day Moses sat to judge the people, and all the people stood by Moses from morning until evening. And Jethro, having seen all that Moses did to the people, said, What is this that you are doing for the people? Why sit alone, and all the people stand around you from morning until evening? And Moses says to his father-in-law, because the people come to me to seek judgment from God. For whenever there is a dispute among them, and they come to me, I give judgment to each man, and I teach them the ordinances of God and his law. And the father-in-law of Moses said to him, the thing you do is not good. You are to wear away with intolerable weariness, both you and all these people with you. This thing is too heavy, you are not able to endure it alone. Now then listen to my voice, and I will advise you, and may God be with you. You represent the people before God, and bring their causes to God. And you are to teach them the ordinances of God and his law, and show them the ways in which they should walk, and the works which they should do. Choose from out of all the people able men, fearing God, righteous men, hating pride, and you set over the people captains of thousands and captains of hundreds, and captains of 50s, and captains of 10s. And they are to judge the people most of the time, but for a difficult matter they are to bring to you, but they are to judge the smaller cases, so they can relieve some of the burden on you. If you are to do this thing, God will strengthen you, and so that you can endure, and all the people will go in peace to their own place. And Moses regarded the voice of his father-in-law, and did what he said to him. And Moses chose out able men out of all Israel, and he made them captains of thousands and captains of hundreds, and captains of 50s and captains of 10s over the people. And they judged the people most of the time, but for a difficult matter they brought to Moses, but every light matter they judged themselves. And Moses dismissed his father-in-law, and he returned to his own land. Chapter 19. And in the 3rd month of the exodus of the sons of Israel out of the land of Egypt, on that same day, they came into the wilderness of Sinai. And they departed from Rephidim, and came into the wilderness of Sinai, and there Israel pitched camp before the mountain. And Moses went up to the mount of God, and God called to him from out of the mountain, saying, these things will you say to the house of Jacob, and report them to the sons of Israel. You have seen all that I have done to the Egyptians, and I took you up, as upon eagle's wings, and I brought you near to myself. And now if you will indeed hear my voice, and keep my covenant, you will be to me a peculiar people above all nations, for the whole earth is mine. And you are to be to me a royal priesthood and a holy nation. These words will you speak to the sons of Israel. And Moses called the elders of the people, and he told them all the words, which God commanded them. And all the people answered together, all things that God has spoken, we are to do and hearken to. And Moses reported these words to God. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Lo, I come to you in a pillar of a cloud, that the people may hear me speaking to you, and may believe you forever. And Moses reported the words of the people to Yahuwah. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Go down and solemnly charge the people, and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their garments. And let them be ready against the 3rd day, for on the 3rd day Yahuwah will descend upon Mount Sinai before all the people. And you are to separate the people around it, saying, Take notice of yourselves, that you do not go up the mountain, nor touch any part of it. Everyone that touches the mountain will surely die. A hand will not touch it, for everyone that touches it is to be stoned with stones, or shot through with an arrow, whether beast or whether man, it is to not live. When the voices and trumpets and cloud depart from off the mountain, they are to come up on the mountain. And Moses went down from the mountain to the people, and sanctified them, and they washed their clothes. And he said to the people, Be ready, for 3 days do not come forward to a woman. And it came to pass on the 3rd day, as the morning drew close, there were voices and lightnings and a dark cloud on Mount Sinai. The voice of the trumpet sounded loud, and all the people in the camp trembled. And Moses led the people out of the camp to meet God, and they stood by at the foot of the mountain. The Mount of Sinai was covered in smoke, because God had descended on it in fire, and the smoke went up as the smoke of a furnace, and the people quaked with terror. And the sounds of the trumpet were growing much louder. Moses spoke, and God answered him with a voice. And Yahuwah came down upon Mount Sinai on the top of the mountain, and Yahuwah called Moses to the top of the mountain, and Moses went up. And God spoke to Moses, saying, Go down, and solemnly warn the people, do not at any time try to get close to look at God or they are to die. And let the priests that come here to why God sanctify themselves, lest he destroy some of them. And Moses said to God, The people will not be able to approach the Mount of Sinai, for you have solemnly charged us, saying, Set bounds to the mountain and sanctify it. And Yahuwah said to him, Go, descend, and come up you, and Aaron with you, but let not the priests and the people force their way, to come up to God, lest Yahuwah destroy some of them. And Moses went down to the people, and spoke to them. Chapter 20. And Yahuwah spoke all these words, saying, I am Yahuwah your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You are to have no other gods beside me. You are not to make to yourself any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters under the earth. You are not to bow down to them, nor serve them, for I Yahuwah your God am a jealous God, repaying the sins of the fathers upon the children, to the third and fourth generation to them that hate me, and bestowing mercy to thousands of them that love me, and keep my commandments. You are not to take the name of Yahuwah your God in vain, for Yahuwah your God will not acquit him that takes his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you are to labor, and will perform all your work. But on the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah your God, on it you are not to do work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, your servant nor your maidservant, your ox nor your donkey, nor any cattle of your, nor the stranger that is within your gates. For in 6 days Yahuwah made the heaven and the earth, and the sea, and everything in them, and rested on the seventh day. Therefore Yahuwah blessed the seventh day, and made it holy. Honor your father and your mother, that it may be well with you, and that you may live long on the good land, which Yahuwah your God gives to you. You are not to commit adultery. You are not to steal. You are not to kill. You are not to bear false witness against your neighbor. You are not to covet your neighbor's wife. You are not to covet your neighbor's house, nor his field, nor his servant, nor his maid, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor any of his cattle, nor anything that belongs to your neighbor. And all the people saw the thundering, and lightning, and the voice of the trumpet, and the mountain smoking, and all the people feared and stood afar off, and said to Moses, You speak to us, and do not let God speak to us, or we may die. And Moses says to them, Be of good courage, for God has come to you to test you, that his fear may be among you, so that you do not sin. And the people stood afar off, and Moses went into the darkness where God was. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Thus you are to say to the house of Jacob, and report it to the sons of Israel, You have seen, that I have spoken to you from heaven. You are not to make gods of silver alongside me, and gods of gold you are not to make to yourselves. You must make to me an altar of earth, and upon it, you must sacrifice your whole burnt offerings, and your peace offerings, and your sheep and your calves in every place, where I will record my name, and I will come to you and bless you. And whenever you make an altar of stones to me, you are not to build it of hewn stones, for they are defiled, if you use your tool to shape them. You must not walk up steps to my altar, so that you do not uncover your nakedness upon it. Chapter 21. And these are the ordinances which you are to set before them. If you buy a Hebrew servant, he can serve you 6 years, but in the 7th year he is to go out free for nothing. If he should come in alone, he is to also go out alone, and if his woman went in with him, then his woman also will go out with him. Moreover, if his master gives him a wife, and she bear him sons or daughters, the woman and the children will be his master's, and he is to go out alone. And if the servant should answer and say, I love my master and woman and children, I will not go away free, his master will bring him to the judgment seat of God, and then will he bring him to the doorpost, and his master will pierce his ear with an awl, and he is to serve him forever. And if anyone sell his daughter as a domestic, she will not depart as the maidservants depart. If she be not pleasing to her master, after she has betrothed herself to him, he is to let her go free, but he is not at liberty to sell her to a foreign nation, because he has seduced her. And if he should have betrothed her to his son, he must deal with her according to the rights of a daughter's. And if he takes another woman to himself, he is to not deprive her of necessaries and her apparel, and her companionship with him. And if he is to not do these 3 things to her, she will go out free without money. And if any man strike another, so that he die, let him be certainly put to death. But if it was not done with premeditation, yet God caused him to die, then I will give you a place, where the killer may flee. And if anyone come presumptuously to his neighbor, to slay him with guile, and he come to my altar seeking refuge, you are to put him to death. Whoever strikes his father or his mother, let him be certainly be put to death. He that abuses his father or his mother will surely die. Whoever should steal a man, and tyrannize him, should he sell him, or if he be found in his hand, to death let him come to an end. If 2 men fight each other, and the one strike the other with a stone or his fist, so that he does not die, but be laid upon his bed, if the man gets up and walks on a staff, he that struck him will be clear, only he is to pay for his loss of time, and for his healing. If a man strikes his manservant, or his maidservant with a staff, and the party die under his hands, he is to be surely punished. But if the servant continues to live a day or two, let not the master be punished, for he is his money. If two men strive, and strike a woman with child, and her child be born imperfectly formed, he is to be forced to pay a penalty, as the woman's husband may lay upon him, he is to pay with a judgment. But if it be harmed, then he is to give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. And if one hurts the eye of his manservant, or the eye of his maidservant, and put it out, he is to let them go free for their eye's sake. And if he should knock out the tooth of his manservant, or the tooth of his maidservant, he is to let them go free for their tooth's sake. And if a bull gore a man or woman, so that they die, the bull will be killed with stones, but his flesh will not be eaten, and the owner of the bull will be clear. But if the bull has gored anyone in the past, and men told his owner, and he did not remove him, but he has now slain a man or woman, the bull will be killed, and his owner will die also. But if a ransom should be imposed on him, he is to pay the ransom for his life, as much as they are to lay upon him. And if the bull gore a son or daughter, let them do to him according to this ordinance. And if the bull gore a manservant or maidservant, he is to pay to their master 30 silver shekels, and the bull will be stoned. And if anyone open a pit, or dig a cavity in stone, and fail to cover it, and an ox or a donkey fall in there, the owner of the pit will make restitution, he is to give money to their owner, and the dead animal will be his own. And if any man's bull gore the bull of his neighbor, so that it dies, they are to sell the living bull and divide the money, and they are to divide the dead bull. But if the bull was known to gore in time past, and they have told his owner, but he did not remove him, he is to repay bull for bull, but the dead will be his own. And if someone steals an ox or a sheep, then kill it or sell it, he is to pay 5 calves for a calf, and 4 sheep for a sheep. Chapter 22. And if the thief is caught breaking in, and is struck, so that he dies, then there will be no blood guilt for him. But if the sun be risen upon him, then there is blood guilt, the thief must make restitution, and if the thief is poor, let him be sold in compensation for what he has stolen. And if the thing stolen is still in his hand alive, whether ox or sheep, he is to restore them twofold. And if anyone should graze his cattle down a field or a vineyard, and he allows his beast to graze down another man's field, he is to make restitution of his own field according to his produce, and if he is to have fed down the whole field, he is to pay restitution from the best of his own field, and the best of his vineyard. And if fire breaks out and spreads thorn bushes, but then set on fire threshing floors, or ears of corn or a field, he that started the fire will make restitution. And if anyone gives to his neighbor money or goods to keep, and they get stolen out of the man's house, if the thief be found he is to repay double. But if the thief be not found, the master of the house will come forward before God, and will swear that surely he has not brought wickedness in regard to any part of his neighbor's deposit, according to every injury alleged, concerning a calf, a donkey, a sheep, a garment, or any other alleged loss, whatever in fact it may be. They both shall come before God for judgment, the one convicted by God shall pay double to his neighbor. And if anyone deposits to his neighbor a calf or sheep, or any beast to hold for him, and it gets wounded, or die or gets stolen, and no one knows who did it, then both must take an oath to the Lord, each swearing that he is surely not at all guilty in the matter of his neighbor's deposit, and so his master will hold him guiltless, and he is to not make restitution. But if it was stolen from him, then he is to make restitution to the owner. And if it was killed by beasts, then he is to bring him to witness the prey, and he is to not make restitution. And if anyone borrows anything of his neighbor, and it got wounded or died or was carried away, but the borrower of it was not with it, then he is to make restitution. But if the owner was with it, then he is to not make restitution, but if it was hired there will be a restitution to him instead of the money paid for the hire. And if anyone deceive a virgin, that is not betrothed, and lie with her, he is to surely pay the dowry for her, and she will be his woman. And if her father positively refuses, and will not consent to give her to be his woman, he is to pay restitution to her father, according to the amount of the dowry of virgins. You are not to allow a witch to live. Everyone that lies with an animal you are to put to death. He that sacrifices to any gods except to Yahuwah alone, will be destroyed with death. And you are not to hurt a stranger, nor afflict him, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. You are not to hurt a widow or an orphan. And if you should afflict them unjustly, and they should cry aloud to me, I will surely hear their voice. And I will be very angry, and will slay you with the sword, and your wives will be widows and your children orphans. And if you should lend money to your poor brother who is by you, do not be hard upon him, do not exact usury of him. And if you take your neighbor's garment for a pledge, you are to give it back to him before sunsets. For this is his clothing, this is the only covering of his nakedness, where will he sleep? If then he is to cry to me, I will hear him, for I am merciful. You are not to revile the magistrates, nor speak ill of the ruler of your people. You are not to keep back the first fruits of your threshing floor and press. The firstborn of your sons you are to redeem to me. So will you do with your calf, and your sheep and your donkey. 7 days will it be under the mother, and the 8th day you are to give it to me. You are to be holy men to me, and do not eat flesh killed by wild animals, give it to the dog. Chapter 23. You are not to receive a false report, do not agree with the unjust man, to become an unjust witness. You must not follow the crowd in doing evil, do not join yourself with the majority so as to give testimony to pervert justice. And because one is needy you shall not show mercy in his cause. And if you meet your enemy's ox or his donkey going astray, then turn it back, and restore it to him. And if you see your enemy's donkey fallen under its burden, do not pass by it, but help him with it. You are not to pervert justice to your poor in his dispute. You are to abstain from every unjust thing, do not slay the innocent and the just, and do not justify the wicked for gifts. You are not to receive bribes, for a bribe blind the eyes of the seeing, and corrupt just words. You are not to oppress a stranger, for you know the heart of a stranger, for you are strangers in the land of Egypt. 6 years you are to sow your land, and gather in the fruits of it. But in the 7th year you are to let it rest, and leave it, and the poor of your nation will feed, and the wild beasts of the field will eat that which remains. You do your vineyard, and to your olive grove the same way. 6 days will you do your work, and on the 7th day you are to rest, that your ox and your donkey may rest, and that the son of your maidservant, and the stranger may be refreshed. Observe all things I have commanded you, and make no mention of the name of other gods, neither will they be heard out of your mouth. Keep a feast to me 3 times in the year. Take heed to keep the feast of unleavened bread, 7 days you are to eat unleavened bread, as I charged you at the season of the month of new corn, for in it you came out of Egypt. You are not to appear before me empty-handed. And you are to keep the feast of the harvest of firstfruits of your labors, whatever you have sown in your field, and the feast of ingathering at the end of the year, when you have gathered in your fruits out of your field. 3 times in the year will all your males appear before Yahuwah your God. For when I will have cast out the nations from before you, and have widened your borders, do not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leaven, neither allow the fat of my feast to stand until morning. You are to bring the firstfruits offering of your land into the house of Yahuwah your God. Do not boil a lamb in its mother's milk. Behold, I send my angel before you, that he may protect you, that he may bring you into the land which I have prepared for you. Watch yourself and listen to him, and do not disobey him, for he is to not pardon you, for my name is on him. If you will indeed hear my voice, and if you do all the things that I charge you with, and keep my covenant, you will be a peculiar people to me, above all nations, for the whole earth is mine, and you will be to me a royal priesthood, and a holy nation. These words will you speak to the sons of Israel, if you will indeed hear my voice, and do all the things I will tell you. I will be an enemy to your enemies, and an adversary to your adversaries. For my angel will go as your leader, and will bring you to the Amorite, and Hittite, and Perizzite, and Canaanite, and Girgasite, and Hivite, and Jebusite, and I will destroy them. You are not to worship their gods, nor serve them. You are not to do according to their works, but will completely destroy them, and smash to pieces their pillars. And you are to serve Yahuwah your God, and I will bless your bread, and your wine and your water, and I will turn away sickness from you. There will not be on your land one that is impotent or barren. I will surely fulfill the number of your days. And I will send terror before you, and I will strike confusion on all the people to whom you will encounter, and I will make all your enemies to flee. And I will send hornets before you, and you are to cast out the Amorites and the Hivites, and the Canaanites and the Hittites from you. I will not cast them out in 1 year, lest the land become desolate, and the beasts of the field multiply against you. Little by little I will cast them out from before you, until you are increased, and inherit the earth. I will set your borders from the Red Sea to the Sea of the Philistines, and from the wilderness to the great river Euphrates, and I will deliver into your hand those that dwell in the land, and will cast them out from you. You are to make no covenant with them or their gods. They will not dwell in your land, lest they cause you to sin against me by serving their gods. They are to be an occasion for stumbling. Chapter 24. And to Moses he said, Go up to Yahuwah, you and Aaron and Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and they are to worship Yahuwah from a distance. And Moses alone will come near to God, but the others will not come near, and the people will not go up with them. And Moses went in and related to the people all the words of God and the ordinances, and all the people answered with one voice, saying, All the words which Yahuwah has spoken, we are to do and be obedient. And Moses wrote all the words of Yahuwah, and Moses rose up early in the morning, and built an altar under the mountain, and set up 12 stones for the 12 families of Israel. Then he sent out the young men of the sons of Israel, and they offered whole burnt offerings, and they sacrificed young calves as a peace offering to God. Moses took half the blood, and poured it into bowls, and half the blood he poured out upon the altar. He then took the book of the covenant and read it in the ears of the people, and they said, All things Yahuwah has spoken we are to do and obey. Moses took the blood and sprinkled it upon the people, and said, Behold the blood of the covenant, which Yahuwah has made with you concerning all these words. And Moses went up, and Aaron, and Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel. And they saw the place where the God of Israel stood, and under his feet as it were, a work of sapphire bricks, and its appearance was like the expanse of heaven in its purity. And of the chosen ones of Israel there was not even one missing, and they appeared in the place of God, and ate and drink. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Come up to me into the mountain, and be there, and I will give you the tablets of stone, the law and the commandments which I have written to give them laws. And Moses rose up and Joshua his minister, and they went up into the mount of God. And to the elders they said, Rest here until we return to you, and behold, Aaron and Hur are with you, if any man has a cause to be tried, let him go to them. And Moses and Joshua ascended up the mountain, and the cloud covered the mountain. And the glory of God came down upon Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days, and Yahuwah called Moses on the 7th day out of the midst of the cloud. And the appearance of the glory of Yahuwah was as burning fire on the top of the mountain, before the sons of Israel. And Moses went into the midst of the cloud, and ascended up the mountain, and was in the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. Chapter 25. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the sons of Israel, that they bring me the firstfruits of all, of everything that is good in their heart to give, and you are to take my firstfruits. This is the offering which you are to take of them, gold, silver and brass, blue, purple, twice dyed scarlet, fine twisted linen goat's hair, ram skins dyed red, blue skins, and incorruptible wood, oil for the light, spices for both anointing oil, and for ingredients to make incense, sardius stones, stones for the carved work of the shoulder pieces, and the full-length robe. Make me a sanctuary, and I will appear among you. According to all the things that I showed you in the mountain, even the pattern of the tabernacle, and the pattern of all its furniture, so will you make it. Make the ark of testimony of incorruptible wood, the length of 2 cubits and a half, and the width of a cubit and a half, and the height of a cubit and a half. Gild it with pure gold, you are to gild it within and without, and twist golden wreaths around it. Make castings of 4 golden rings, and put them on the 4 sides, 2 rings on the one side, and 2 rings on the other side. Make poles of incorruptible wood, and will gild them with gold. Put the poles into the rings on the sides, to bear up the ark. The poles will remain fixed in the rings of the ark. Put into the ark the testimonies which I will give you. Make an atonement seat, a cover of pure gold, the length of 2 cubits and a half, and the width of a cubit and a half. Make 2 cherub sculptures of gold, and you are to put them on both sides of the atonement seat. Make 1 cherub on one side, and another cherub on the other side of the atonement seat, and make the 2 cherubs on the 2 sides. The cherubs will stretch out their wings above, overshadowing the atonement seat with their wings, and their faces will be toward each other. The faces of the cherubs will be toward the atonement seat. Set the atonement seat on the ark, and put into the ark the testimonies that I will give you. I will make myself known to you from there, and I will speak to you from above the atonement seat between the 2 cherubs, which are upon the ark of testimony, even in all things which I will charge you concerning the sons of Israel. Make a golden table of pure gold, in length 2 cubits, and in width a cubit, and in height a cubit and a half. Make golden wreaths twisted around it, and make a crown of a hand width around it. Make a twisted wreath for the crown around it. Make 4 golden rings, and you are to put the 4 rings on the 4 legs under the crown. The rings will be to insert the poles, that the table can be carried with them. Make the poles of incorruptible wood, and you are to gild them with pure gold, and the table will be carried by them. Make its dishes out of pure gold, its censers, its bowls, its cups, that you are going offer your drink offerings. Set the showbread on the table, to keep before me continually. Make a candlestick of pure gold, make the candlestick of hammered work, its stem, its branches, its bowls, its knobs, its lilies will be one piece. 6 branches arranged on the sides, 3 branches of the candlestick from one side, and 3 branches of the candlestick from the other side. 3 bowls shaped like almonds, on each branch a knob and a lily. Do so for each one of the 6 branches of the candlestick, and on the candlestick are 4 bowls shaped like almonds, in each branch put the same knobs and flowers. A knob under the first 2 branches coming from it, and then a knob each to make 4 branches from it, so to all 6 branches proceeding from the candlestick, and in the candlestick 4 bowls shaped like almonds. Let the knobs and the branches be of one piece, altogether hammered out of one piece of pure gold. Make for it 7 lamps, set the lamps on it, so that they are to give light only in the front. Make its funnel and its snuff dishes of pure gold. All these articles will be a talent of pure gold. See, you are to make them according to the pattern shown to you in the mount. Chapter 26. Make 10 curtains for the tabernacle, made of fine twisted linen of blue, purple, and scarlet, spun with cherubs. Make them with the embroidery of a weaver. The length of the curtain will be 28 cubits, and the width will be 4 cubits. Make each curtain with the same measurements. Join the 5 curtains together, and join the other 5 curtains together. Make loops of blue material along the edge of the end curtain in one set, and in the same way you are to make loops in the outer edge of the end curtain in the second set. You are to make 50 loops will you make for one curtain, and 50 loops will you make on the part of the curtain answering to the coupling of the second, opposite each other, corresponding to each other at each point. You are to make 50 golden rings, and join the curtains to each other with the rings, so that the tabernacle will be a single structure. You are to make a covering for the tabernacle. Use 11 goat skins with the hair on. The length of one skin is 30 cubits, and the width of the skin 4 cubits. Use the same measurements for all 11 skins. You are to join 5 skins together, and then 6 skins together, and then double over the 6th skin in front of the tabernacle. You are to make 50 loops along the border of one skin, which is in the middle, and make 50 loops along the edge of the second skin, that will join it. You are to make 50 bronze rings, and join the rings by the loops, and join the skins, so that they are one. You are to secure the end skins that are overlapping of the skins of the tabernacle, overlap the part of the skin that is left, to take up the slack of the skins going around the tabernacle, put the overlap seam in the back of the tabernacle. A cubit on this side, and a cubit on that side of that which remains of the skins, of the length of the skins of the tabernacle, it is to be folded over the sides of the tabernacle on this side and that side, that it may be covered. And you are to make for a covering of the tabernacle ram skins dyed red, and blue skins as coverings above. And you are to make the posts of the tabernacle of incorruptible wood. Of 10 cubits will you make one post, and the width of one post of a cubit and a half. Lapping joints you are to make in each post, the one answering the other, so do to all the posts of the tabernacle. And you are to make 20 posts on the north side of the tabernacle. And you are to make 40 silver sockets for each post, 2 sockets to one post on both its sides, and 2 sockets to the other post on both its sides. And for the next side, toward the south, 20 posts, and there 40 silver sockets, 2 sockets to one post on both its sides, and 2 sockets to the other post on both its sides. And on the back of the tabernacle at the part which is toward the west you are to make 6 posts. You are to make 2 posts on the corners of the tabernacle behind. And they are to be twin pieces from beneath, and both alike they are to be twinned together onto the top of the dwelling onto the topmost ring at the back of the dwelling, thus it is to be. And there are to be 8 posts, with their 16 silver sockets, 2 sockets to one post on both of its sides, and 2 sockets to the other post. And you are to make bars of incorruptible wood, 5 to one post on one side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars to one post on the second side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars to the hinder posts, on the side of the tabernacle toward the sea. And let the bar in the middle between the posts go through from the one side to the other side. And you are to gild the posts with gold, and make golden rings, into which you are to introduce the posts, and you are to gild the posts with gold. And you are to set up the tabernacle according to the pattern shown you on the mount. And you are to make a veil of blue, and purple and scarlet yarn and fine twisted linen you are to make cherubs in it woven into the embroidery. And you are to set it upon 4 posts of incorruptible wood overlaid with gold, and their tops will be gold, and their 4 sockets will be of silver. And you are to put the veil on the posts, and to carry ark of the testimony within the veil, and the veil will make a separation for you, between the holy place and the holy of holies. And you are to separate with the veil the ark of the testimony and the holy of holies. And you are to set the table outside the veil, and the candlestick opposite the table on the south side of the tabernacle, and put the table on the north side of the tabernacle. And you are to make a curtain for the door of the tabernacle of blue, purple, and twisted scarlet yarn and fine twisted linen, the work of the embroiderer. And you are to make 5 posts to hang the veil, and gild them with gold, and their hooks will be gold, and cast 5 bronze sockets for them. Chapter 27. And you are to make an altar of incorruptible wood, of 5 cubits in the length, and 5 cubits in the width. The altar will be square, and the height of it is to be of 3 cubits. And you are to make horns on the 4 corners, the horns will be of the same piece, and overlay them with brass. And you are to make a rim for the altar, and its covering and its cups, and its flesh hooks, and its fire pan, and all its vessels will you make of brass. And you are to make a grate for it with a network of bronze, and make 4 bronze rings under the 4 sides of the grate. And you are to put them under a ledge to the altar, and the ledge will extend outward from halfway up the altar. And you are to make poles for the altar out of incorruptible wood, and overlay them with brass. And you are to put the poles into the rings, and let the poles be on the sides of the altar to carry it. You are to make the ark hollow, out of boards, according to what was shown you in the mount, so you are to make it. And you are to make a courtyard for the tabernacle. The courtyard curtains on the south side are of fine twisted linen, the length of 100 cubits for one side. And the 20 posts, with their 20 bronze sockets, and their rings and their clasps of silver. On the side toward the north, the curtains are also 100 cubits in length, and their 20 posts, with their 20 of brass sockets, and the rings and the clasps of the posts, and their sockets overlaid with silver. And in the width of the tabernacle toward the west, hang 50 cubits of curtains, with their 10 poles and their 10 sockets. And the width of the tabernacle toward the east, hang 50 cubits of curtains, with their 10 poles, and their 10 sockets. And the hangings of the curtains will be 15 cubits for the one side of the gate, with its 3 posts, and its 3 sockets. And for the second side the hangings of the curtains will be of 15 cubits, with their 3 posts and 3 sockets. And put a veil for the door of the courtyard, the height of it of 20 cubits of blue linen, and of purple, and spun scarlet, and of fine twisted linen of a weaver, with their 4 posts, and 4 sockets. All the posts of the courtyard around it overlaid with silver, and their silver hooks and their brass sockets. And the length of the courtyard will be 100 cubits on each side, and the width 50 on each side, and the height 5 cubits of fine twisted linen, and their sockets of brass. And all the furniture and all the utensils, and the stanchions of the courtyard, will be of brass. And give orders to the sons of Israel, and let them bring you refined beaten pure olive oil to burn for light, that a lamp may burn continually. In the tent of the testimony, outside the veil, that is in front of the ark of the covenant, will Aaron and his sons burn it from evening until morning, before Yahuwah. It is an everlasting instruction throughout your generations of the sons of Israel. Chapter 28. Take both Aaron your brother, and his sons, of the sons of Israel, so that Aaron, and Nadab and Abihu, and Eleazar and Ithamar, sons of Aaron, may minister to me. And you are to make holy garments for Aaron your brother, for honor and glory. And speak you to all those who are wise and understanding, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom and perception, and they are to make the holy garments of Aaron for the sanctuary. He is to wear the garment to minister to me as priest. And these are the garments they are to make: the breastplate, and the ephod, and the full-length robe, and the tunic with a fringe, and the turban, and the waistband, and they are to make holy garments for Aaron, and his sons to minister to me as priests. And they are to take the gold, the blue, the purple, the scarlet, the fine linen. And they are to make the shoulder piece of fine twisted linen, the woven work of the embroiderer. It is to have 2 shoulder pieces attached together by 2 of its corners, and the woven work of the waistband of the ephod. It is to be of 1 piece according to the work of pure gold and blue and purple, and scarlet yarn and fine twisted linen. And you are to take the 2 stones, the stones of emerald, and engrave upon them the names of the sons of Israel. 6 names on the first stone, and the other 6 names on the second stone, according to their births. It is to be the work of the stone engraver. As the engraving of a seal, you are to engrave the 2 stones with the names of the sons of Israel. And you are to put the 2 stones on the shoulders of the shoulder piece. They are memorial stones for the sons of Israel, and Aaron will bear the names of the sons of Israel before Yahuwah on his 2 shoulders, a memorial for them. And you are to make filigree of pure gold, and you are to make 2 fringes of pure gold mixed with a wreath of flowers, and put the bordered fringes on the filigree, fastening the wreath on the ephod in front. And you are to make an oracle of judgment, the work of the embroiderer, in keeping with the ephod. Make it of gold, blue, purple, scarlet yarn, and fine twisted linen. It is to be square when doubled. of a span the length, and a span the width. And you are to interweave 4 rows of stone. The first row of stones are a sardius, a topaz, an emerald. And the second row, a carbuncle, a sapphire, and a jasper. And the third row, a ligure, an agate, an amethyst. And the fourth row, a chrysolite, and a beryl, and an onyx stone, inset with gold, bound together with gold. Let them be according to their row. And let the stones of the names of the sons of Israel be 12 according to their names, engravings as of seals. Let them be for the 12 families each according to the name. And you are to make on the oracle woven fringes, a chainwork of pure gold. And Aaron will take the names of the sons of Israel, on the oracle of judgment upon his heart, a memorial before God as he goes into the sanctuary. And put the fringes on the oracle of judgment, put the wreaths on both sides of the oracle, and you are to put the 2 filigrees on both the shoulders of the ephod in front. And put the manifestation and the truth on the oracle of judgment, and it is to be on the heart of Aaron, when he goes into the holy place before Yahuwah. And Aaron will bear the judgments of the sons of Israel on his heart before Yahuwah continually. And you are to make the full-length tunic all a blue. And the opening of it is to be in the center, having a fringe around the opening, the work of the weaver, woven together to make a collar, that it might not be torn. And make upon the hem of the undergarment below, you are to make as it were pomegranates of a flowering pomegranate of blue, purple, and spun scarlet, and fine linen twisted around the hem of the undergarment, golden pomegranates of the same shape, and bells in between going around it. A bell beside a golden pomegranate, and flower work on the fringe around the hem of the undergarment. And the sound of Aaron will be audible when he ministers, as he goes into the sanctuary before Yahuwah, and as he goes out, that he might not die. And you are to make a panel of pure gold, and engrave on it is the graving of a signet, holiness of Yahuwah. And you are to put it on the spun blue cord on the turban, it is to be in the front of the turban. And it is to be on the forehead of Aaron, and Aaron will lift away their sins of the holy gifts, all that the sons of Israel will sanctify of every holy gift, and it is to be on the forehead of Aaron continually acceptable for them before Yahuwah. And the fringes of the undergarments are to be of fine linen, and make a turban of fine linen, and make a waistband, the work of the embroiderer. And for the sons of Aaron you are to make tunics and waistbands, and make them turbans for honor and glory. And you are to clothe Aaron your brother, and his sons with him, and to anoint them, and perfect their hands, and you are to sanctify them, that they may minister to me in the priest's office. And you are to make them linen drawers to cover the nakedness of their flesh, they are to reach from the loins to the thighs. And Aaron will have them, and his sons, whenever they enter into the tabernacle of the church, or when they are to advance to the altar of the sanctuary to minister, so they are not to bring sin upon themselves and die. It is a perpetual statute for him, and for his seed after him. Chapter 29. And these are the things which you are to do to sanctify them, so that they can serve me in the priesthood. And you are to take 1 young calf from the herd, and 2 unblemished rams, and unleavened loaves kneaded with oil, and unleavened cakes anointed with oil. Make them a fine flour of wheat. And you are to put them in 1 basket, and offer them in the basket, and the young calf and the 2 rams. And you are to bring Aaron and his sons to the doors of the tabernacle of the church, and wash them with water. And having taken the garments, you are to put on Aaron your brother both the full-length robe, and the ephod and the oracle, and fasten the oracle to the ephod. And you are to put the turban on his head, and put the plate, even the holy diadem, on the turban. And you are to take the anointing oil, and you are to pour it on his head, and anoint him, and you are to bring his sons, and put garments on them. And you are to gird them with the waistbands, and put the turbans upon them, and they are to have a priestly office to me forever. And you are to perfect the hands of Aaron, and the hands of his sons. And you are to bring the calf to the door of the tabernacle of the church, and Aaron and his sons are to lay their hands on the head of the calf, before Yahuwah, by the doors of the tabernacle of the church. And you are to slay the calf before Yahuwah, by the doors of the tabernacle of the church. And you are to take of the blood of the calf, and put it on the horns of the altar with your finger, but all the rest of the blood you are to pour out at the foot of the altar. And you are to take all the fat that is on the belly, and the lobe of the liver, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, and will put them upon the altar. But the flesh of the calf, and his skin, and his dung, will you burn with fire outside the camp, for it is an offering on account of sin. And you are to take 1 ram, and Aaron and his sons are to lay their hands on the head of the ram. And you are to kill it, and take the blood, and sprinkle it upon and all around the altar. And you are to divide the ram by his several limbs, and wash the entrails and the legs with water, and put the divided parts with the head. And you are to offer the whole ram on the altar, a whole burnt offering to Yahuwah for a sweet-smelling savor. It is an offering of incense to Yahuwah. And you are to take the second ram, and Aaron and his sons are to lay their hands on the head of the ram. And you are to kill it, and take of the blood, and put it on the tip of Aaron's right ear, and on the thumb of his right hand, and on the great toe of his right foot, and on the tips of the right ears of his sons, and on the thumbs of their right hands, and on the great toes of their right foot. And you are to take of the blood of the altar, and of the anointing oil, and sprinkle it upon Aaron and on his garments, and on his sons and on his sons' garments with him, and he and his apparel are to be sanctified, and his sons' apparel with him. But the blood of the ram sprinkle around and upon the altar. And you are to take from the ram its fat, both the fat that covers the belly, and the lobe of the liver, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, and the right shoulder, for this is a ram of consecration. And 1 cake made with olive oil, and 1 cake from the basket of unleavened bread set out before Yahuwah. And you are to put them all on the hands of Aaron, and on the hands of his sons, and separate them as a separate offering before Yahuwah. And you are to take them from their hands, and will offer them up on the altar of whole burnt offering for a sweet-smelling savor before Yahuwah. It is an offering to Yahuwah. And you are to take the breast from the ram of consecration which is Aaron's, and separate it as a separate offering before Yahuwah, and it is to be to you for a portion. And you are to sanctify the separated breast and the removed shoulder, which has been separated, and removed from the ram of consecration, of Aaron's portion and that of his sons. And it is to be a perpetual statute of the sons of Israel to Aaron and his sons, for this is a heave offering, and it is to be a special offering from the sons of Israel, from the peace offerings of the sons of Israel, a heave offering to Yahuwah. And Aaron's apparel of the sanctuary are to be his sons after him. They are to be anointed in them, and to perfect their hands. The successor of the priest from among his sons who go into the tabernacle of the church to minister in the holy place are to put them on 7 days. And you are to take the ram of consecration, and boil the flesh in the holy place. And Aaron and his sons are to eat the flesh of the ram, and the loaves in the basket, by the doors of the tabernacle of the church. They are to eat the offerings with which they were sanctified to perfect their hands, to sanctify them, and a stranger is not to eat of it, for it is holy. And if any be left of the flesh of the sacrifice of consecration, and of the loaves until the morning, burn the remainder with fire. It is to not be eaten, for it is a holy thing. And thus you are to do for Aaron and his sons according to all things that I have commanded you. 7 days will you perfect their hands. And you are to sacrifice the calf of the sin offering on the day of purification, and purify the altar, when you perform a consecration upon it, and anoint it so as to sanctify it. 7 days you are to purify the altar and sanctify it, and the altar will be most holy. Everyone that touches the altar will be hallowed. And these are the offerings which you are to offer upon the altar: 2 unblemished lambs of a year old, daily on the altar continually, a constant offering. 1 lamb you are to offer in the morning, and the 2nd lamb offer in the evening. And a 10th measure of fine flour, mingled with the 4th part of an hin of beaten oil, and a drink, offering the 4th part of a hin of wine for 1 lamb. And you are to offer the 2nd lamb in the evening, after the manner of the morning offering, and according to the drink offering of the morning lamb. You are to offer an offering to Yahuwah for a sweet-smelling savor, a perpetual sacrifice throughout your generations, at the door of the tabernacle of the church before Yahuwah, where I will be known to you from there, so as to speak to you. And I will there give orders to the sons of Israel, and I will be sanctified in my glory. And I will sanctify the tabernacle of the church and the altar, and I will sanctify Aaron and his sons, to minister as priests to me. And I will be called upon among the sons of Israel, and will be their God. And they are to know that I am Yahuwah their God, who brought them out of the land of Egypt, to be called upon by them, and to be their God. Chapter 30. And you are to make the altar of incense of incorruptible wood. And you are to make it a cubit in length, and a cubit in width. It is to be square, and the height of it is to be of 2 cubits, its horns are to be of the same piece. And you are to gild its grate with pure gold, and its sides around it, and its horns, and make for it a twisted gold border around it. And you are to make under its twisted border 2 rings of pure gold. You are to make it on the 2 corners of both flanks. The ring will be for the poles, to carry it with. And you are to make the poles of incorruptible wood, and gild them with gold. And you are to set it in front of the veil, that is over the ark of the testimonies, where I will make myself known to you from there. And Aaron will burn upon it fine incense blend every morning. Whenever he trims the lamps he is to burn incense upon it. And when Aaron lights the lamps in the evening, he is to burn incense upon it, a constant incense offering always before Yahuwah throughout their generations. And you are not to offer strange incense upon it, nor an offering made by fire, nor a meal offering, and you are not to pour a drink offering upon it. And once in the year Aaron will make atonement on its horns, he is to purge it with the blood from the sin offering throughout their generations, it is most holy to Yahuwah. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, If you take a census of the sons of Israel according to their numbers, then each man is to pay a ransom for his life to Yahuwah, so that there will not be a calamity when you visit them. And this is what they are to give, as many as are counted in the census, half a shekel, which is according to the shekel of the sanctuary. A shekel weighs 20 gerahs, but the half of the shekel is the offering to Yahuwah. Everyone that passes the survey from 20 years old and upwards are to give the offering to Yahuwah. The rich are not to give more, and the poor are not to give less than the half shekel, in giving the offering to Yahuwah, to make atonement for your lives. And you are to take the money of the offering from the sons of Israel, and give it for the service of the tabernacle of the church, and it is to the sons of Israel a memorial before Yahuwah, to make atonement for your lives. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, Make a bronze laver and a bronze pedestal for it, for washing, and put it between the tabernacle of the church and the altar, and pour water into it. And Aaron and his sons are to wash their hands and their feet with water from it. Whenever they go into the tabernacle of the church, they are to wash themselves with water, so they do not die. Whenever they advance to the altar to do service, and to offer the whole burnt offerings to Yahuwah, they are to wash their hands and feet with water. Whenever they go into the tabernacle of the church, they are to wash themselves with water, that they do not die, and it is to be for them a perpetual statute, for him and his successors after him. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, Take also sweet herbs, the flour of choice myrrh of 500 shekels, and half of this 250 shekels of sweet-smelling cinnamon, and 250 shekels of sweet-smelling cannabis, and of cassia 500 shekels of the sanctuary, and a hin of olive oil. And you are to make this a holy anointing oil, a perfumed ointment tempered by the perfumer, it is to be a holy anointing oil. And you are to anoint the tabernacle of the church, and the ark within the tabernacle of the church, and all its furniture, and the candlestick and all its utensils, and the altar of incense, and the altar of whole burnt offerings and all its utensils, and the table and all its utensils, and the laver. And you are to sanctify them, and they are most holy, everyone that touches them will be hallowed. And you are to anoint Aaron and his sons, and sanctify them, that they may minister to me as priests. And you are to speak to the sons of Israel, saying, This is to you a holy anointing oil throughout your generations. Do not pour it on man's flesh, and do not make any for yourselves according to this blend. It is holy, and shall be to sanctify you. Whoever makes any of it in like manner, and whoever will give it to a stranger, will be destroyed from among his people. And Yahuwah said to Moses, Take yourself some sweet herbs, stacked, anicca, sweet galbanum, and transparent frankincense, use an equal weight of each. And they are to make perfumed incense, tempered with the skill of a perfumer, a pure holy work. And of these you are to mill some of it very fine, to put before the ark of the testimonies in the tabernacle of the church, from where I will make myself known to you, it is to be to you a most holy incense. You are not to make any for yourselves according to this composition, it is to be to you a holy thing for Yahuwah. Whoever will make any in like manner, so as to smell it, are to perish from his people. Chapter 31. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, Behold, I have called by name Bezalel the son of Uri the son of Hur, of the family of Judah. And I have filled him with a divine spirit of wisdom, and understanding, and knowledge, and all methods of craftsmanship, and to design brilliant works of gold, silver, brass, blue, purple, spun scarlet, and works in stone, and for carpenter's work in wood, to all methods of works. And I have appointed him Aholiab the son of Ahisamach of the family of Dan, and to everyone with understanding in their heart, I have given special skills, and they are to make all the things as I have deliberated you. The tabernacle of the church, and the ark of the covenant, and the atonement seat that is upon it, and the furniture of the tabernacle, and the altars, and the table and all its utensils, and the pure candlestick and all its utensils, and the laver and its pedestal, and Aaron's robes of ministry, and the robes of his sons to minister to me as priests, and the anointing oil and the incense blend of the sanctuary, according to all that I have commanded you to make. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, You also speak to the sons of Israel, saying, Take heed and guard my Sabbaths, for they are a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am Yahuwah that sanctifies you. And you are to guard the Sabbaths, they are holy to Yahuwah because of you, he that profanes it is to surely be put to death. Anyone who performs self-seeking labor on it, that soul will be destroyed from the midst of his people. 6 days you are to do self-seeking labor, but the 7th day is the Sabbath, a holy rest to Yahuwah. Everyone who performs self-seeking labor on the 7th day will be put to death. And the sons of Israel are to keep the Sabbaths, to observe them throughout their generations. It is a perpetual covenant with me, and the sons of Israel, it is a perpetual sign with me, for in 6 days Yahuwah made the heaven and the earth, and on the 7th day he ceased, and rested. When he left off speaking to him in Mount Sinai, he gave to Moses the 2 tables of the Decalogue, tablets of stone written with the finger of God. Chapter 32. And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down from the mountain, the people rallied against Aaron, and said to him, Arise and make us gods who will go before us. As for this Moses the man who brought us out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. And Aaron says to them, Take off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives and daughters, and bring them to me. And all the people took off the golden earrings that were in their ears, and brought them to Aaron. And he received them from their hands, and with a graving tool he made them a molten calf, and said, These are your gods, O Israel, which brought you up out of the land of Egypt. And Aaron having seen it built an altar before it, and Aaron made proclamation saying, Tomorrow is a feast of Yahuwah. And having risen early the next morning, he offered whole burnt offerings, and offered a peace offering, and the people sat down to eat and drink, and rose up to play. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, Go quickly, descend from here, for your people whom you brought out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. They have quickly violated the way which I commanded, they have made for themselves a calf, and worshipped it, and sacrificed to it, and said, These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt. Then the Yahuwah said to Moses, I have seen this people. Look what a stiff-necked people they are. And now leave me alone, so that my anger can against them and destroy them, and I will make from you great Gentiles. And Moses prayed to God, and said, Why, O Yahuwah, are you very angry with your people, whom you brought out of the land of Egypt with great strength, and with your high arm? Take heed lest at any time the Egyptians speak, saying, With evil intent he brought them out to slay them in the mountains, and to consume them from off the earth. Cease from your wrathful anger, and be merciful to the sin of your people, remembering Abraham and Isaac and Jacob your servants, to whom you have sworn by yourself, and have spoken to them, saying, I will greatly multiply your seed as the stars of heaven for multitude, and all this land which you spoke of to give to them, so that they are to possess it forever. And Yahuwah, and the Lord was prevailed upon to preserve his people. And Moses turned, and went down from the mountain, and the 2 tables of the Decalogue were in his hands, tablets of stone written on both sides, they were written the front and back. And the tablets were the work of God, and the writing is the writing of God engraved in the tablets. And Joshua, having heard the voice of the people crying, said to Moses, There is a noise of war in the camp. And Moses said, It is not the voice of them that begin the battle, nor the voice of them that begin the cry of defeat, but the voice of them that begin the banquet of wine do I hear. And when he drew close to the camp, he saw the calf and the dances, and Moses being very angry cast the 2 tablets out of his hands, and broke them to pieces beneath the mountain. And taking the calf which they made, he consumed it with fire, and ground it very small, and scattered it on the water, and made the sons of Israel to drink it. And Moses said to Aaron, What have these people done to you, that you have brought upon them this great sin? And Aaron said to Moses, Do not be angry, my lord, for you know the impulse of these people. For they said to me, Make us gods, which will go before us. As for this man Moses, who brought us out of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. And I said to them, If anyone has golden ornaments, take them off. And they gave them me, and I cast them in the fire, and there came out this calf. And when Moses saw that the people were running wild, for Aaron had scattered them to be a derision to their enemies, then stood Moses at the gate of the camp, and said, Who is on Yahuwah's side? Let him come to me. Then all the sons of Levi came to him. And he said to them, Thus says Yahweh God of Israel, Put everyone his sword on his thigh, and go from gate to gate through the camp, and each one kill his brother, and his neighbor, and his nearest friend. And the sons of Levi did as Moses spoke to them, and 3,000 men died. And Moses said to them, You have filled yourselves with sacrifices this day to Yahuwah, each one against his son, or against his brother, so that blessings should be given to you. And it came to pass after the next morning had begun, that Moses said to the people, "You have sinned a great sin, and now I will go up to God, that I may make atonement for your sin." And Moses returned to Yahuwah and said, "I pray, O Yahuwah, these people have sinned a great sin, and they have made for themselves golden gods. And now if you will forgive their sin, forgive it, and if not, blot me out of your book, which you have written." And Yahuwah said to Moses, "If anyone has sinned against me, I will blot them out of my book. Now go, descend, and lead these people into the place which I spoke to you. Behold, my angel will go before your face, and in the day when I will visit I will bring upon them their sin." And Yahuwah struck the people for the making of the calf, which Aaron made. Chapter 33. And Yahuwah said to Moses, "Depart, go up from here, you and the people whom you brought out of the land of Egypt, to the land which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I will give it to your seed. And I will send along my angel before you, and he will cast out the Amorite, the Hittite, the Perizzite, Girgasite, Hivite, Jebusite, and Canaanite. And I will bring you into a land flowing with milk and honey. I will not go up with you, because you are a stiff-necked people, lest I destroy you on the way." And the people, having heard this grievous saying, mourned in mourning apparel. For Yahuwah said to the sons of Israel, "You are a stiff-necked people, take heed lest I bring on you another plague, and destroy you. Now then put off your stylish apparel, and your ornaments, that I may know what I should do to you." So the sons of Israel took off their ornaments, and their stylish apparel at the mount of Horeb. And Moses took the tabernacle, and pitched it outside the camp, at a distance from the camp, and it was called the tabernacle of the church. And it came to pass, that everyone that sought Yahuwah went out to the tabernacle which was outside the camp. And whenever Moses went into the tabernacle outside the camp, all the people stood watching by the door of their tent, and watched Moses until he entered into the tabernacle. And when Moses entered the tabernacle, the pillar of the cloud descended, and stood at the door of the tabernacle, and God talked to Moses. And all the people saw the pillar of cloud standing by the door of the tabernacle, and all the people stood, and worshipped at the door of their tent. And Yahuwah spoke to Moses face to face, as if one should speak to his friend. When he retired into the camp, his servant Joshua the son of Nun, a young man, did not depart out of the tabernacle. And Moses said to Yahuwah, "Lo, you said to me, lead these people onward, but you have not shown me whom you are to send with me, but you said to me, I know you above all, and you have favor with me. If then I have found favor in your sight, reveal to me your way, that I may know you, that I may continue to find favor in your sight, and that I may know this great nation is your people." And he said, "My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest." And he said to him, "If your presence will not go with us, then do not take us from here. For how will it be known that both I and these people have found favor with you, except if you go with us? So both I and your people will be distinguished beyond all the nations, from all the other people that are upon the earth." And Yahuwah said to Moses, "I will also do for you this thing, which you have spoken, for you have found grace before me, and I know you above all." And Moses said, "Manifest yourself to me." And God said, "I will pass by before you with my goodness, and I will proclaim my name Yahuwah before you, and I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and will have pity on whom I will have pity." God said, "You are not to be able to see my face, for no man will see my face, and live." Yahuwah said, "Behold, there is a place by me, you are to stand upon the rock, and when my glory will pass by, then I will put you into a cleft of the rock, and I will cover you with my hand, until I will have passed by. And I will remove my hand, and then will you see my back parts, but my face will not appear to you." Chapter 34. And Yahuwah said to Moses, "Hew 2 tablets of stone, as the first were, and come up to me on the mountain, and I will write on the tablets the words which were on the first tablets that you broke. Be ready by morning, and go up to Mount Sinai, and stand there for me on the top of the mountain. No one is to go up with you, nor be seen in all the mountain, and do not let the sheep and oxen feed near that mountain." So Moses hewed 2 tablets of stone, like the first ones were, and Moses rose early, and went up to Mount Sinai, as Yahuwah told him, and Moses took the 2 tablets of stone. Yahuwah descended in a cloud, and stood near him, and he proclaimed the name of Yahuwah. Yahuwah passed by before his face, and he proclaimed, "Why God, compassionate and merciful, long-suffering and abounding in loyal love, and faithful, and keeping justice and mercy for thousands, taking away iniquity and unrighteousness and sins." He will not clear the guilty, bringing the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, and the children's children, to the third and fourth generation. And Moses hurried, and bowed to the earth and worshipped, and said, If I have found grace before you, let my Yahuwah go with us, for the people is stiff-necked, and you take away our sins and our iniquities, and we are to be your inheritance. Yahuwah said to Moses, Behold, I establish a covenant for you in the presence of all your people. I will do glorious things which have not been done in all the earth nor in any nation, and all the people among you will see the works of Yahuwah, that they are wonderful, which I will do for you. Take heed all things I command you. Behold, I cast out before your face the Amorite, and the Canaanite and the Perizzite, and the Hittite, and Hivite, and Girgasite and Jebusite. Take heed of yourself, lest at any time you make a covenant with the dwellers of the land where you are entering, lest it be a stumbling block to you. You are to destroy their altars, and break in pieces their pillars, and you are to cut down their groves, and the graven images of their gods you are to burn with fire. For you are not to worship strange gods, for why God, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. If at any time you make a covenant with the dwellers of the land, and go whoring after their gods, and sacrifice to their gods, and they call you to eat of their feasts, and you should take their daughters for your sons, and you should give your daughters to their sons, and your daughters should go whoring after their gods, and your sons should go whoring after their gods. You are not to make for yourself molten gods. You are to keep the feast of unleavened bread. 7 days will you eat unleavened bread as I have charged you. At the time of our appointment in the month of new corn, for in the month of new corn you came out from Egypt. Everything that opens the womb belongs to me, even all the males of every firstborn ox, and every firstborn sheep. And a firstborn donkey you are to redeem with a sheep, and if you are not to redeem it, you are to pay a price. Every firstborn of your sons will you redeem. You are not to appear before me empty. 6 days you are to do self-seeking labor, but on the 7th day you are to rest. There will be rest in seed time and harvest. And you are to keep to me the feast of weeks, the beginning of wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering in the middle of the year. 3 times in the year will every male appear in front of Yahuwah the God of Israel. For when I will have cast out the nations before your face, and will have enlarged your coasts, no one will desire your land. When you appear before Yahuwah your God, 3 times in the year, you are not to offer the blood of my sacrifices with leaven, neither will the sacrifices of the feast of the Passover remain until the morning. The first fruits of your land will you put into the house of Yahuwah your God. Do not to boil a lamb in his mother's milk. Yahuwah said to Moses, Write these words for yourself, for on these words I have established a covenant with you and with Israel. And Moses was there before Yahuwah 40 days, and 40 nights, he did not eat bread, and he did not drink water, and he wrote upon the tablets these words of the covenant, the 10 sayings. When Moses came down from the mountain, there were the 2 tablets in the hands of Moses. When he came down from the mountain, Moses did not know that the appearance of the skin of his face was glorified, when God spoke to him. Aaron and all the elders of Israel saw Moses, and the appearance of the skin of his face was made glorious, and they feared to approach him. And Moses called to them, so Aaron and all the rulers of the synagogue came back to him, and Moses spoke to them. Afterwards all the sons of Israel came to him, and he commanded them all the things Yahuwah had spoken to him on Mount Sinai. When he ceased speaking to them, he put a veil on his face. Whenever Moses went in before Yahuwah to speak to him, he took off the veil until he went out, and he went out, and spoke to all the sons of Israel, whatever Yahuwah commanded him. The sons of Israel saw the face of Moses, that it was glorified, and Moses put the veil over his face, until he went in to speak with him. Chapter 35. And Moses gathered all the church of the sons of Israel together and said, These are the words which Yahuwah has spoken for you to do. 6 days you will perform self-seeking labor, but on the 7th day will be rest, a holy Sabbath, a rest to Yahuwah. Everyone that does self-seeking labor on it, let him die. You are not to burn a fire in any of your dwellings on the Sabbath day. I am Yahuwah. Moses spoke to all the church of the sons of Israel, saying, This is the thing which Yahuwah has commanded, saying, Take of yourselves an offering for Yahuwah. Everyone that engages in his heart will bring the firstfruits to Yahuwah, of gold, silver, or brass, blue, purple, double scarlet spun, and fine twisted linen goat's hair, and ram skins dyed red, and skins dyed blue, and incorruptible wood, sardine stones, stones for engraving for the shoulder piece and full-length robe. Every man that is wise in heart among you, let him come, and work all the things that Yahuwah has commanded. the tabernacle, the cords, the coverings, the rings, the bars, the posts, the ark of the testimony, its poles, its atonement seat, the veil, the curtains of the courtyard, its posts, the emerald stones, the incense, the anointing oil, the table and all its utensils, the candlestick for the light and all its utensils, the altar and all its utensils, the holy garments of Aaron the priest, and the garments in which they are to do service, the garments of priesthood for the sons of Aaron and the anointing oil, and the incense blend. The whole church of the sons of Israel went out from the presence of Moses. And they each brought an offering, those whose heart prompted them, and those to whom it seemed good in their mind. They brought an offering to Yahuwah for all the works of the tabernacle of the church, and all its services, and for all the robes of the sanctuary. The men and the women, to whom it seemed good in their heart, brought brooches, earrings, finger rings, necklaces, bracelets, every object of gold. Whoever had ornaments of gold to Yahuwah, or with whomever fine linen was found, or skins dyed blue, or ram skins dyed red. And everyone that presented an offering of silver and brass brought it as an offering to Yahuwah, and those who had incorruptible wood for any work of the service, brought it. And every woman skilled in her heart to spin with her hands, brought spun articles, the blue, and purple, and scarlet and fine linen. The women to whom it seemed good in their heart in their wisdom, spun the goat's hair. And the chieftains brought the emerald stones, and the stones for setting in the ephod, and the oracle, the oil and the spices for both for the anointing oil, and the incense blend. And every man and woman who desired to come in, and do all the work, as many as Yahuwah appointed of them, through Moses, the sons of Israel brought the choice portion to Yahuwah. And Moses said to the sons of Israel, Behold, God has called by name Bezalel the son of Uri the son of Hur, of the family of Judah, and has filled him with a divine spirit of wisdom and understanding, and knowledge of all things, to labor skillfully in all works of clever craftsmanship, to form the gold and the silver and the brass, and to work in stone, and to mill the wood, and to work wisely in every vocation. And God gave heightened understanding both to him, and to Aholiab the son of Ahisamach of the family of Dan. God filled them with wisdom and understanding to consider all things and how to construct all the works of the sanctuary, and how to weave the woven and embroidered work with scarlet, and fine linen to do all the work of intriguing craftsmanship and embroidery. Chapter 36. Start. Bezalel brought Aholiab, and everyone wise in understanding, to whom was given wisdom and knowledge, to understand to do all the works according to the holy offices, according to all things which Yahuwah ordered. And Moses called Bezalel and Aholiab, and all that had wisdom, to whom God gave knowledge in their heart, and all who were freely willing to come forward to do the works, and perform them. And they received from Moses all the offerings the sons of Israel brought for all the works of the sanctuary, and they continued to receive gifts from those who brought them in the morning. And all the skilled men who were doing the work on the sanctuary came from the work they were doing. And one said to Moses, The people have brought in abundance, more than enough in proportion to all the responsibilities which Yahuwah has appointed them to do. And Moses commanded, and proclaimed in the camp, saying, Let neither man nor woman any longer labor for the offerings of the sanctuary, and the people were restrained from bringing any more. And they had sufficient materials to make all that was ordered, and even a surplus. Very skilled were those that worked making the holy place robes which belonged to Aaron the priest, as Yahuwah commanded Moses. He made the ephod of gold, blue, purple, spun scarlet, and fine twined linen. And they hammered the gold into thin sheets, then cut it into threads, to interweave with the blue and purple, and with the spun scarlet, and the fine twined linen, they made it a woven work. The shoulder pieces were joined at the top edges, a woven work by twisting the parts into one another. They made it of the same material according to the making of it, of gold, and blue, and purple, and spun scarlet, and fine twined linen, as Yahuwah commanded Moses. And they made the 2 emerald stones clasped together, and set in gold, engraved as with the engraving of a seal with the names of the sons of Israel. And he put them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod, as stones of memorial of the sons of Israel, as Yahuwah instructed Moses. And they made the oracle, a work woven with embroidery, according to the work of the ephod, of gold, and blue, and purple, and spun scarlet, and fine twined linen. They made the oracle square when doubled, the length of a span, and the width of a span, double. And there was interwoven with it a woven work of 4 rows of stones, a series of stones, the first row, a sardius and topaz and emerald, and the second row, a carbuncle and sapphire and jasper, and the third row, a ligure and agate and amethyst, and the 4th row a chrysolite and beryl and onyx set around it with gold, and fastened with gold. And there were 12 stones according to the names of the sons of Israel, engraved according to their names like seals, each according to his own name for the 12 families. And they made on the oracle turned braided chains like a wreath, of pure gold, and they made 2 golden filigree and 2 golden rings. And they put the 2 golden rings on both the upper corners of the oracle, and they put the golden wreaths on the rings on both sides of the oracle. They made 2 filigree settings in the 2 couplings. And they put them on the 2 filigree sets, and they put them on the shoulders of the ephod opposite each other in front. They made 2 golden rings, and put them on the other 2 ends of the oracle, and on the edge of the inner side of the ephod. And they made 2 more golden rings, and attached them both on the bottom of the shoulder pieces of the ephod, in front by the coupling above the waistband of the ephod. They fastened the oracle by the rings that were on it to the rings of the ephod, which were fastened with a blue string, joined together with the woven work of the ephod, that the oracle should not be loosed from the ephod, as Yahuwah commanded Moses. They made the tunic under the ephod, woven work, all of blue. They made an opening in the center of tunic, woven closely together like a collar, the opening having a fringe around it, that it might not be torn. And they made on the hem of the tunic pomegranates as of a flowering pomegranate tree, of blue, and purple, and spun scarlet, and fine twined linen. And they made golden bells, and put the bells on the hem of the tunic in between the pomegranates, all the way around. A golden bell and a pomegranate on the hem of the tunic around it, to be used when ministering, as Yahuwah commanded Moses. And they made vestments of fine linen, a woven work, for Aaron and his sons, and the turban of fine linen, and the headbands of fine linen, and the undergarments of fine twined linen, and their sashes of fine linen, and blue, and purple, and scarlet spun, the work of an embroiderer, according as Yahuwah commanded Moses. And they made the golden plate, the holy diadem, of pure gold, and he wrote upon it graven letters as of a seal, holiness to Yahuwah. And they attached it to a blue cord, so that it should be on the turban above, as Yahuwah commanded Moses. Chapter 37. B. And they made 10 curtains for the tabernacle, 28 cubits is the length of one curtain, the same measure was to all, and the width of one curtain is 4 cubits.